Today, the goal is not to do well. The goal is to make as many mistakes as you can here in a safe environment. Oftentimes when I do these trainings, people are embarrassed when there's 50 people, 100 people. I need to be perfect. I need to say the perfect thing. Today, your goal is come up here and give me the worst. Make as many mistakes as you can so I can see all the things you struggle with, so I can give you the tools that you can then use and fix it. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Right?
Yeah.
So don't even try to do a good job, because then I don't know what to coach you on, okay? Here's what we'll do. Every single person is going to come here. I'm going to ask you a question on the spot. And it's not going to be a difficult question like tell me about nuclear physics or anything. I'm going to ask you to talk about something you know anything about. So that could be your background, could be where you're from, your job, your passion. And you're just going to talk about 3 to 5 minutes. If that's a stretch, it's okay. I need to see that's a problem for you. I need to see you're not able to speak on the spot, all right? Now here you'll see some forms we have. I want everyone to grab 5 of these. Let me just spread these out, please. And then grab a pen for yourself too. Can I get one as well, just for reference, please? Thank you. Okay, so grab 5 each. Right on time, Mehboob. I was just saying, Mehboob, our only goal today is to make mistakes. So don't even try to do a good job, and please get one of these forms. You'll need these. Yeah, there we go. Rebecca, I can tell you're a product manager by the way you're operating this room. Everyone got 5? Yep. Got a pen? Okay. So on this form, you will see 3 main areas, and for each person who comes up to speak, I will need your help to give them feedback. Now, speaking is one of those things where it's very subjective. If you come up here and speak and I give you feedback, hey, I couldn't really hear you, or you didn't sound confident, the person next to you might say the exact opposite. So my feedback isn't the best feedback. You need everyone else's feedback because everyone's going to say something different. So here you'll see body language and eye contact, everything you see about the person. You'll see structure, language, and content, all of the words. Are they going all over the place? Are they using the right language? Any mistakes? And then voice, volume, and pace. People usually talk very, very fast. They don't pause. They start doing all of this stuff. While they're talking, I just want you to make notes. There are only 2 columns here. One is, what did they do well? So for example, if I'm talking to them, yeah, so hey everyone, today I'm really excited about public speaking, you can write areas of improvement, a lot of twitchy movement, a lot of nervousness, anxiety. Or if I'm using a lot of broad body language, you can write that as your strength. The interesting thing is, let's say I came up here and said, hey, my name is Yasser, today we're going to talk about public speaking. You might write, wow, what a confident person. You might write, what an arrogant person. You might write, way too loud. So it's the same thing, but everyone's going to perceive it differently, and that's the beauty of this room here. Each perspective counts. So body language, structure, and voice. Some minor things might also occur where you might notice someone can blank out, or they don't have the right vocabulary, or they can't really find the right word. Just make a note of that. What I'm going to do is when someone comes up here and speak, for the first 2 or 3 minutes in the speech, I'm not going to interrupt at all. I'm just going to let you speak. When they're done, I'm going to ask them, how did you think you did? Because you'll find oftentimes, if someone comes up here and they do an amazing job, and I'll say, hey, how do you think you did? Can't believe I messed that up. That was so bad, I can't believe I did it. What information have we now received? They perceive themselves in a very weak way, right? So that's important information for us. So speak, self-evaluation, I will give some feedback, and then every single person here will give feedback. That way, each person gives a speech and gets feedback from everybody. Does that make sense? Okay, some notes around feedback. There's only 2 ways to receive feedback today, okay? The first one is to say, thank you for the feedback. What you don't want to do is start arguing or justifying the feedback. So a lot of times what happens is someone will say, I observed that you were loud, and I think you were a bit too loud. Actually, I wasn't loud. It just creates tension. So if you don't agree with it, you don't have to agree with it. Just, oh, okay, that's how they saw the world. That's okay. The second thing you can do is ask for clarification. When you say be more confident, what does that mean? When you said use less body language, what does that mean? So thank you and clarification. Is that clear? Okay. The other thing is, I have gone through everyone's notes. There are 2 sections that we're going to focus on. For most people here, the fear and the anxiety of public speaking is a very big concern, right? Can you raise your hand if that's a concern for you here? Okay, so just about everyone. Rebecca is like halfway. Mom, Mia. Right? Okay, so half your hand goes up, right? So we're going to spend a significant portion of that towards the end of the workshop talking about that, because the way we fix anxiety is very different from how we develop the skill. I was just telling you earlier, some people have the skill set of speaking confidently. Let's say you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your colleagues, you can speak really confidently. But if I take you out of there and put you in front of 3,000 people, all of a sudden you blank out. So you have the skill set. I can't teach you more public speaking. So then the problem we're solving is the anxiety problem. And they're solved very, very differently. The mistake a lot of people make is, I'm anxious about public speaking, I should just do more public speaking. But you have the skill set already. The problem is something else, and I'm going to talk about that later. The other half is, some of you have no anxiety issue, you're very confident, but you just want to speak better. You want to sell yourself a little better. So we'll start with the skill set side of things, and then we'll go into the anxiety part. Make sense? How are we feeling?
Great.
Yeah? Okay. Can I get you to start, please, Mehboob? Is that okay? Just because, right? So yes.
What's the time frame?
I will be timing it about 3 to 5 minutes. If you go overboard, no problem. But I will raise my hand if it's too long. Okay? Now, what you want to do is when you come up here, pretend like you have an audience of 50,000 people in front of you. I'm going to ask you a question on the spot. Every time someone comes up, we're going to clap. Every time they're done, we're going to clap. Okay? Let me grab my phone real quick, just so I can time it. I'm going to borrow your seat there.
So you're going to ask me questions?
I'm going to ask you one question to speak about for 5 minutes. There's no Q&A at the end of it.
I see.
Okay? And then I'll come and I'll give you some feedback, all right? Okay. Stand here for just 1 second. I will introduce you to some round of applause. Okay, I got my timer here. All right, folks, please welcome Mr. Mehboob. Round of applause. Okay, Mehboob, for people who don't know you, for the next 3 to 5 minutes, tell them what you do and how you got into that profession.
When I got in here. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Mohammed Siddiqui, and I used to work for like 20 plus years for a corporate company, which is General Electric, in a capacity of education and health promotion. But now for the last 3 years, I would say most probably after the COVID times, I'm working full time as a health and wellness coach. And if you don't know what's about health and wellness coaching, then we can definitely talk about it today. So yeah, so this is what pretty much I do now. And since I have been given sort of like 3 to 5 minutes, so I would go through a very brief and like, as we call it, elevator pitch type of thing, right? So when we talk about health and wellness coaching, we talk about a holistic approach. We talk about a full human being approach. So we don't focus on one particular body part or one particular disease. We talk about, as I said, overall the human being. And having said that, since it was something extempore to do, so what is coming in my mind at the moment is just like I would ask you to remember a word which is shield, right? And then so what I can say that protect yourself with a shield. And shield, if I can spell it out for you, it's S-H-I-E-L-D. So we can talk about S, which is better sleep. We can talk about H, which is how to improve or how to get over your stress and your burnout. Then we talk about S-H-I. I is about all interpersonal relationship. And then E is for exercise. Exercise means like movement, whatever movement you can do. Some people they think about exercise is just to go to the gym and do. But E stands for any sort of movement which you like. And then S-H-I-E-L. L stands for your love of learning. So keep yourself learning no matter what age you belong to or what group of the society you belong to. Keep learning. And then last but not the least is D. And D Can anybody tell me what reading be?
Time.
Time, there you go. So it's all about all these 5 things, which we call these are the best doctors, or these are the best trends these days. So that's pretty much about what I do. And if there are any concerns, any question, I can take it later on with you, and we can kind of do a deep dive later if you are interested. Thank you.
Round of applause. Okay.
So, first of all, thank you very much for asking. I think it was okay for me, because I didn't put any like extra effort at this very point. This is how I just started speaking in front of audience. Doesn't matter like how many, but I am definitely open for all the constructive feedback and anything, yeah.
Okay. So if I were to ask you again, what areas of your speech did you think you did well? I think you spoke on the spot well. Is that what you're saying?
On the spot, yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, when you asked me what to do and how to do it, so
Yeah.
there was something in my mind, like
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I had no idea prior to coming here what was the time limit. So like when you said 3 minutes, so like, you know, my mind was processing what should be the most like focused and fastest way to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's
And in terms of what you think you can improve, what do you think you can improve?
I think definitely I can improve maybe the speed which I was talking, so I could be a little bit more slower.
Okay.
Okay. Because it's a kind of confined room already.
Yeah.
I don't think so there was much to do with the voice or something.
Yeah.
Everybody's listening. I was not like trying hard to speak to you all. So I was talking in my regular voice, right? So yeah. And then maybe now if I can recall, maybe I can do some more body language stuff, some
Okay.
more gestures. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Let me go around the room. Can I start with you, Maria? What did you notice about what he did well and areas of? Let's start with what he did well and then areas of improvement.
So in terms of the strengths, I noticed that you did eye contact with us, so I think that's great. In my perspective, I feel that you used your body language very well with your hands, like enumerating and so on. I think your content was rich. I like when you broke the shield acronym into pieces. It shows that you know or you have rehearsed it in the past. I think that your pace was good, and your volume was also good. In terms of areas of improvement, I noticed you repeated the word "so yeah."
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the one. And the other one, I think for my perspective, the voice or pitch, I don't know what's the component or the name of that part, but I felt that it was very monotonous, like steady. And yes, I was engaged listening, but if it were like a longer speech, I want to like not bored, but I feel that it would be the same and listen to Chris. Other than that, I think that's
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. And David, do you have any different feedback on yours?
Different on the strengths.
On either one?
I thought the structure I thought was well structured. I liked how you clarified a question in the beginning. So you kind of rather than just going and rambling, you took a moment to consider and select your thoughts. I thought that was interesting. I think you have great pace. Areas improvement I put, I felt the beginning was a bit weak, slash maybe boring slash monotonous. That's how I felt it was going to be. That's where I was preparing my mind as I started writing. I was like, oh, this is not going to be very engaging. But that didn't last very long. You started talking about, oh, well, I started in GE, General Electric, or something like that. Yeah, and I thought it was going to be very boring. But then as soon as you got into the health stuff, the present, yeah, it was very engaging, and I was like bought in. I was picturing this guy as a TED Talk kind of guy, and so I quite liked it. The only thing that I want to clarify, especially for myself, Yasser, is you mentioned picture a room of 50,000 people. Is it with a microphone or not a microphone? Because I would have gone up there and I would have been like projecting for 50,000.
If you want the person right at the back to hear you without a microphone, then you'd be screaming. So there's probably going to be a microphone. But the rule is on stage and on camera, you want to talk about 30 to 40% louder than you normally do, because most people in general don't talk very loud, and on stage they're even more quiet. So to accommodate for that, you got to raise your volume a little bit more.
I mean, I thought the volume was excellent, but I just wasn't sure if it was loud enough according to the...
And by the way, great question, because it's going to differ for everyone's context. If you're doing a Zoom meeting, you're not going to be screaming at the camera, right? If you're in front of people, you're going to be talking a lot like it.
That's an appropriate
volume. Yeah. Okay, Khizr, can I get just 2 sentences, what he did well and areas of improvement? Anything different that you have?
Okay. So, with what he did well, I found the content valuable.
Okay.
It's providing value to the audience that's at the other side of the table.
Okay.
So that's good. Area of improvement, I would say the beginning can improve in a way that, I really like how in the end you engage the audience by, what is being. So if there's a similar kind of thing in the start, it'll get the audience engaged. And maybe it's just my opinion, but I thought that, there could have been more movement as opposed to just standing in one place and the entire speaking. That's all I have.
Very good. Rebecca?
I think in overall, I really enjoy your speech, making me really comfortable about your body language, eye contact, as well as the voice, volume, and pause. I think I really satisfied with it. And the 2 part I think is really good. One is similar to the hearts that interactive, and another part is about the shape. So when you said the word, and I'm thinking, how to spell it, and then you spell it, and I'm thinking, what each word meaning for, and then you immediately explain to me. So this is the part really hooked me. The part I think, the only part I think is maybe can improve is when you introduce you have like 2 decades working experience in general electronic, then you directly jump to you spend 3 years in health and wellness consultant. So I'm confusing why you jump from one area to another. So it's kind of let me thinking it for a while without following what you are doing. And that's the only part I think you can improve. Other than that, I think it's perfect.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great constructive feedback.
Now, the challenge is we've got all this feedback. How do we implement that? How do we take 16 different things and then improve it right away? Because a lot of times you'll receive feedback and there's a specific order that needs to be implemented, okay? Let me ask everyone a question here, everyone except you. What was the one sentence summary of his speech? What was the one key message of his speech?
Diet is important.
Okay.
For me, it's shade.
Shade? Okay.
Shield.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you?
Have a structure to guide what's important for you.
Okay.
For me, it's like he's very knowledgeable about health and that I can
Yeah.
to him if I have
Yeah. So did you see how 4 people gave you 4 different answers?
Yeah.
Right?
Very surprising.
Yes.
Very surprising.
So when you are communicating, the most important thing we're doing is communicating a message. And the message needs to be clear and concise. Usually it is one single sentence. Believe in yourself. Do X, Y, Z. What got you here won't get you there. So every single time you start a speech, and I know you're speaking on the spot, so obviously you didn't have that ready. People start a speech by usually preparing all of the information and then delivering the information, and then they don't realize what is the actual message I want them to remember. Because whenever you're in a presentation, you hear a 45-minute presentation, in the next hour you forget all of it. Yeah. You don't remember anything. But if there's one key message, hey, sales are down, we need to hire someone. Or we need to change our marketing strategy. That's the key message. So what you want to do is you want to introduce the message as early as you can, and you want to repeat it several times. So let's say someone heard you speak, and they wanted one takeaway of what you do for a living. What's one sentence that would summarize that?
Health and wellness coaching.
Okay. Can we be more specific?
Like in a sentence or in a word?
Yeah, so if we were to ask you what problem you solve for what group of people?
I'm your health buddy. Yeah. Solve the problem. When I empower you, I empower your well-being or your health. So this could be another way to say this.
Yeah. And by the way, you don't need to have the answer right now. Companies spend billions just to come up with that one sentence.
Right.
But can we see how I empower you, I'm a health coach can be a little vague? We're not quite sure exactly what that means, right? Health can be so many different things. So I think for you, a value add or a specific message that shows what you do, specific problem for specific people would help. I'd like you to go again and try a couple of different things, okay? In the first sentence, I want you to make your value proposition. My name is Mehboob, and I help these people do this. Or maybe you could talk about a previous client that you did that for. First sentence, so that gives you immediate direction. Then I want you to give us 3 reasons or 3 steps in how you do that. Okay. So for example, I help people in their 40s and 50s lose weight and get in shape. There's 3 ways I do that. The first way I do it is by doing an assessment, and then I get them on a diet plan, and then I have them work out. That's what I do for a living. So just in that structure, could you see how clear it sounds, right? Can we make that 3 minutes long? I'm sure you know how the mechanics work, right?
Yeah, we can.
I don't expect you to know everything inside out, just try it. So 2 things. 1, have a message and break your speech down into 3 points. I just want to try a 1-minute version of that and see what that sounds like. Okay, and then we'll try something else after that.
Right, so you want to do it right now?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it something, yes sir, if I understand read?
Yes.
Is it something which you mentioned earlier about the point?
Yes, it's similar. So here's message, points, and then message again, but you can do point, reason, point as well. I'll explain that for everyone else.
Yeah, no, because when you said like 3 things and
yes.
So, okay, so beginning, introduction, or no need of introduction?
Just 1 sentence that tells people what you do, and then walk us through the process for just 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, let's just try that. Please welcome Mr. Mehboob.
So thank you Yasser, thank you all. My name is Mohammed Siddiqui. I'm a health and wellness coach. I do help people in solving their health issues, whatever they are, and this is the main reason that I love to work with them as their health buddy. So this is what a health and wellness coach do.
Provide 3 reasons of how it works.
Right. 3 reasons.
Let me help you here for a second. I'm going to construct this speech on the spot with you, okay? So start off with just 1 sentence about the health buddy, okay? And I'll stop you there and I'll give you some input. It's from the top.
Right, so hello everyone. My name is Mohammed Siddiqui. I'm a health and wellness coach, and what I do, I help you in improving your health.
Okay, pause here for a second. Can you think of a problem a past client has had, specific problem?
Yeah, there are too many to...
Pick 1.
Okay.
Okay, so pick 1 client whose problem you solved, and I want you to start with the word imagine. Imagine you have XYZ problem, and then I want you to tell me the problem, only the problem, okay?
Okay, right.
Right.
So, and again, all from the beginning?
No, just this
Just
part.
it. Okay, so imagine you or anyone you know, they have been through a stress or a burnout. Can you share with me, you or anyone you know who has been through stress or burnout? Right. So I do help them in relieving how to relieve their stress.
Okay, pause. This is good. We're starting to build a problem. However, one of the biggest issues people do in storytelling is skip through the pain as soon as possible. The pain is the most important part of any story. So in any movie, if the villain just dies in the first 15 minutes, you're not going to watch the rest of it. There's no stakes. So what I want you to do, build up the problem. Don't even introduce a solution. Just make the audience think, wow, how do we fix this? How do we get out of this? Leave them at that cliffhanger.
So like to elaborate that problem a little bit more?
So for example, imagine you're someone who's 40 years old and you have no money and you have all of these health issues, you've gone to the doctors, you don't have any medication, and you don't have any money for any medical procedures, and you have nowhere to go. What do you do? What are you thinking in your mind right now? What do I do, right? So then when you build the pain up and then you introduce a solution, oh wow, it's a present from the heavens. So then it sounds good, okay? If you just open with, hey, I do this, then there's no payoff, okay? So just tell me the problem, don't even talk about the solution of what you do, all right?
Okay.
Build up the pain.
Right, so you or anyone else you know could had or gone through some stress. I would like to see your hands up. Right, and you are not alone, because I had gone through the same stressful and burnt out journey. And then one day I was totally burnt out and I was totally done. But then I found a health coach which helped me out, which took me out. He pulled me out from that stress level, and that's why I love to do that for anyone I could see is going through the same ordeal.
Was that better already or what? Yeah. Are we feeling a more emotional attachment to it? Yeah? Sure. Okay. Hey, Azhar, have a seat. So, very, very good. However, we're still premature on the problem. Can you see how there's a lot more potential to build up the problem? I want you to build it up so much more, and just don't talk about the solution at all. Keep building it up till I ask you to stop.
Okay, so you want to ask me to stop?
I will tell you when to talk about the solution, okay?
Okay. Right, so, but then again, each time I have to start from the...
Just the problem.
Just the problem.
Just the problem.
So, as we discussed about the stress, that how it affects ourselves, how it affects our well-being, how it affects our sleep, it's something which has to be addressed by anyone, by everyone at any place. Because stress is the biggest killer of the modern history. Stress is the biggest hurdle for you to get over your sleep. Stress is the biggest hurdle in knowing yourself. Stress is the biggest problem one could ever find in his or her lifetime.
Pause here. Now you want the audience thinking, how do we fix it? So what do we do? Such a big problem, what do we do?
So, having said that, it's a kind of pandemic in our society these days, stress. And are you interested to know how can we fix that?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about how to fix that problem.
Okay, pause. Can we see how the structure helped the presentation, right? So if you just came up and say, I'm a health coach, I help XYZ, as opposed to building up the problem and then providing the solution to that problem. Now, this is a much broader topic in terms of storytelling, so I don't want to...
but I totally get your point, like to build up the whole, a kind of climax.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To the problem.
Yes.
And then...
I'm going to give you, everyone, a really good format. If you ever want to sell a product or tell a really good story, you're going to do this. If you want to write this down, this is important. The first thing you're going to do is any good story is talk about the circumstances, the who, what, where. I was in this situation, or this is where I found myself. And then you want to spend the most amount of time talking about the problem or the pain. This is where the audience will really connect with you. How does this person get out of this, okay? Once you talk about the problem, then there's a missing step that most people forget that's called the cure. What is the solution? So for you, I stumbled upon a health coach. That's where my life started to change. Notice how when you got the health coach, immediately all your problems didn't go away. That's when things started to change. So the cure is when the story starts to change. Then you get to the resolution. I had the cure, used the cure, now my life has changed. Then at the end, so what I've learned from this is if you're going through stress, hire a health coach. What are they going to say at the end? What was the message? If you're going through stress, hire a health coach, okay? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Can we do a 1-minute version of that entire thing? So you can just start with the problem, introduce the cure, and then solution, and then leave them with one sentence. It's hard to remember on the spot, but just do your best.
Yeah, just say it again, once again.
So problem, cure, resolution, message. Okay? Skip the circumstance for now.
1 minute?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. This is Mohammed Siddiqui. Thanks for coming here today. I am a health and wellness coach. What I do, I try to help people who are going through any kind of health or wellness issue. One of those issues, if may I ask you, is the stress. Any one of you, or you know someone, has been gone through stress recently? If yes, that is yes from my side as well. So, identifying the stress and then working to find the solution on how to overcome that stress, this is what I do, and this is what I have learned from my own personal journey. If you have any issues or any questions about it, then we can definitely talk it later in detail. But one thing is most important here to remember, that you have to identify that if you are going with stress or not. Unless you don't get aware of it, nobody can help you out.
Okay, pause here for a second. You can give him a round of applause, please. Do we have a better idea what his message was? Yes. What was the final sentence of the speech?
If we need help, we gotta go in.
Yeah.
Reach out for the help.
Yeah. So what I'm noticing with you, this storytelling structure, it takes a while to get down. I'd advise when you're pitching your product or your service, really sit down and try to fill in all those gaps. What I'd love for you is when you end, you usually end as if, oh, okay, that's it. I'm just going to walk off. So you do this with your hands. Yeah, so that's it. And then almost like you're wrapping up, your last words need to be the most impactful. So notice how I asked, what was the message? Only one person knew. It was a little shaky. So that's why if you have stress, hire a health coach. Then you walk off. Then there's no doubt in anyone's mind whether they've done talking, okay? A few more things I want to point out before you go. The way to use the stage, if you have a story you're telling, use the stage to tell that story. So for example, if I were to tell my own story, I'd say, when I was a kid and I grew up in Pakistan, I was a very, very anxious person. Then I moved to Canada, and as I was talking to people, I was learning a lot of skills. I would go to this city and that city and that city and do public speaking, and the one main lesson I learned there was always try your best. So notice how the story flows on the stage, and then if I want to go back to that story, so this reminds me of when I was a kid, now I'm right back at that exact part of the stage, okay? This is a little advanced, but that's how you'll utilize your stage. For you, you don't move around a lot, but I think it will be helpful. This is a small room, so we don't really need that, but in the future, keep that in mind. And one more thing for you, when you start speaking, I want you to take a mandatory 5 to 10 second pause, because I notice every time you're up here, breathe a little bit, and then when you talk, you always do better. When you rush right into the words, your answer suffers a little bit. Take your time and flow into the speech, okay?
Right.
Make sense? Folks, give him a round of applause, please.
And thank you for your
and
feedback.
Could you please pass your feedback to him as well, just so he knows? Please do write his name down here. I don't think you'll understand my writing, but I'll write it down anyway.
No, definitely.
Right? Okay. And by the way, there's a lot more to learn here, don't worry.
Sure.
Have a seat.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's give her a round of applause, folks. Okay. Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to speak for about 3 to 5 minutes. Tell me about a time in your life where you had the biggest change.
So I think the previous speaker is too good to give me a lot of pressure. I'm gonna tell everyone a story about myself. I came from China, and while I was a student, I'm not a really good one because I don't know what's the reason students should study. Everyone tell Chinese students you need to study because you need to go to a good university. But I don't want to go to a good university, and I don't know what's the point and the meaning. So I didn't study. And without any surprise, I didn't enroll any university in China, and I wasted a lot of time, and that suddenly I feels like, oh, I have no direction, I have no goal, I don't know what I really want to do. But the people surround me and also my family member, they're all good. They're good at their work and made me have a false impression I'm good as well. But during this period of time, I realized actually, no matter how good your surrounding, you need to rely on yourself. Then I decided to come to Canada, and because my uncle living here, and in China, actually, we didn't give a lot of students second chance to go to university because we have a huge population. Therefore, study abroad gave me a second chance to change my whole life. And before I came to Canada, I need to figure out what kind of things I want to study. And in this period, one of my best friends, she was sick. And during the process, I feel really hopeless and helpless because I can't help. I don't understand what they are talking about. So besides visit her every day, I feel I'm really useless. And that made me think of maybe I should study something related to health. And I think a little bit because I'm not a good student. I don't really like hospital. Then I choose my path to nutrition. So it's something can help people surround me and relate to health. So I spent 7 years on the nutrition. In the process, I need to overcome the language barrier. And as I mentioned, I never studied in the Chinese high school, so it's very hard for me to apply the university in here. And when you tell people, even your close one, you want to become someone very far from where you are, people don't believe you. And it's a very painful process to overcome this process, but I success. And now I think this story is how totally changed me from who I am and to where who I was to who I am. But I have another issue right now because during the week, currently is a weak economy, so I lost my job. And I feel like I'm good at what I'm doing, but during the interview, the rejection seems tell you another story. So I decided to take it this time to rethink where I want to go. Because it's a new journey, you need to know your destination. And to be honest, I don't know. I didn't figure it out yet. But I know I lack of a very important skill, which is communication. That's why I'm here. Yeah, that's my story.
Round of applause, folks. Okay. We'll do 2-sentence feedback, okay? So just to keep it brief, 1 sentence she did well and 1 area of improvement that you found. Maria, can I start with you, please?
Sure. I like that you included a story as part of your speech, so that was engaging. But I also think in the area of improvement that the story was a little bit not clear, like it went through so many routes, so I didn't know what was really the answer of the question of that super sass.
Thank you.
David?
I ditto that one. I put very authentic.
Thank you.
Incredibly authentic, both in body language and in what you share, us being vulnerable. I found the volume to be low.
What was that, sorry? Volume. Got it. Okay. Khizr, how about you?
Yeah. So starting with the positives first, it was a very good story because it felt personal. That was good. In terms of strengths, you made eye contact with all the way around, so that was good. In terms of areas of improvement, like Yasser mentioned, moving from one part of the stage to the other, that could have been done. You could have engaged the audience anywhere in between your story, and there should have been like one key message that you all remember at the end of it. And I did feel emphasis could have been placed on several messages in the story, and the voice or the tone could have been louder.
Okay. How about you, Azhar?
From a strength's point of view, good eye contact and good hand gesture. At the same time, one more area of improvement is around hands. I found you to be clasping your hand and put a little. I have pretty much one strength to it.
Good. Nabu?
Yeah, so, keeping in mind that, again, she's new with the language barrier, you did really well. To me, you did really spoke very well. The story was very authentic. Body language was good, okay. But again, the same thing which I thought I did, so it could be a little bit there. So, just to move a little bit. That's about the body language. The structure was good, content was okay. And about what he said, like the voice, I would say it would be, if it would be a little bit more up and down.
More tone.
Yeah, the tone of the voice. Otherwise, the story was like, it was engaging a story. But you did really great.
And Mahbub, I think it's a very good piece of information for you, because now that she tried a story, she had that problem several times in the story. And every time she mentioned it, I was leaning in. How did she get out of that? How did she get out of that? So we've immediately built a connection with her. Can we agree? Right? So when you tell a story and you share your problems, we can't help it. It just creates that connection right away. So take a note out of her book when she does that. I'm going to make some assumptions about what I saw, okay? And you correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like as you're speaking and you're thinking of the next thing to say, and then as soon as you say the next thing, your brain is thinking of the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and it's like you're building the bridge as you're walking on it.
Exactly.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Right? And because of that, you're going all over the place and you don't really have a path. Is that correct? And it feels stressful in your head because you constantly have to produce new information, right? So essentially what happens is, did you notice how she spoke a little fast as well? Were you anxious while you were speaking?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a natural response. When we're anxious, our speed just goes up. What's essentially happening is your brain is trying to produce information to give to you, but the mouth moves so fast that the brain cannot keep up. So it's constantly, what's the next thing to say? What do I say next? What do I say next? So then the speed keeps going up and up and up, and the speech is going all over the place. So your speech was great, but I think what got in the way was because you were anxious, you couldn't give yourself time to think of the next thing to say, right? So one of the first things I would recommend for you is to slow down so much that in your head it feels uncomfortable. The reason I mentioned that latter part is when we're speaking at a certain volume, at a certain pace, we're used to speaking like that. So you won't feel a change unless in your head it's uncomfortable. So a lot of times I'll ask people, talk slower, no slower, no, it has to feel uncomfortable in your head. So when you talk, I expect you to be at this pace. And I promise you, you will be dying inside because it's going to be so uncomfortable. In practice, we exaggerate everything, okay? We look at the ranges. How slow can I go? How fast can I go? Can we just try 30 seconds of you telling us the first 30 seconds of that story, but as slow as possible? But I'm going to give you an indication. I'm going to stand behind there, and if I feel like you're still too fast, I'm just going to do this, okay? Keep talking till I tell you to stop talking, okay? All right. Give her another round of applause, please.
I kind of got my story.
Tell us about the period of change in your life.
Oh, right. The huge change in my life. I cannot share a personal story about how I changed from a bad student to top, well-known university graduations. So the journey begins when I was in China, and as a high school student, my goal supposed to study hard, and everyone surrounded me tell me you should work hard, study hard, because you need to apply a good university. But my question is, what if I don't want to go to the good university?
Okay, pause.
Yeah.
Did we notice a change? She's speaking slower? Does she look calmer? How does it feel in your head?
I don't know. My brain is freeze.
So this is a very good word to use. So the brain freezes when it's overloaded with information. When you don't know, do you still feel like you're thinking ahead?
Yeah.
Right? That means we need to slow down even more. You'll notice I was giving you that indication. Slow down so much that you can feel the heartbeat. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't worry about impressing anyone. I don't care what you say. I'm going to get you to change the topic. I just want you to tell me, since you woke up today, what activities you did. So I woke up, I made breakfast, I did this, I did that. That way you don't have to think about what to say. Just slow everything down, okay? All right.
Okay.
Go for
So different from the previous story, which is a little bit engaging, I'm going to share a boring day of mine. So I wake up really late today because I just can't wake up. When you don't have a job, you will change your routine. And after wake up, my boyfriend cooked me a really good meal, and I enjoyed it. Because
Pause. Slow down even more. Even more.
because I don't know what I really want to be. I spent a lot of time to improve my hard skill, and I learned product management courses before I came to here. And the weird thing is, usually my cat never bother me, and she never want me to touch her. But today, for some reason, she always hanging between me and my computer. And I think is a special indicator I'm gonna have a really special thing.
Okay, pause.
Today.
Are we looking at that smile on her face? Does she look calmer, right? Do you feel more calm compared to the first time?
Yeah.
So when you speak slower, you allow your brain to process the information more. One more thing I want to point out is, no matter who you are, at the start of every speech, your heart is going to be beating out of your chest. And because of that, it's very hard to think. What most people do is, let's say you have a speech coming up and you start speaking, the heart rate and the adrenaline is shooting up. You feel all that energy in your body and you're talking really fast. Eventually, it starts to die down around 30 to 60 seconds in, naturally, because your emotions can't last forever. But here's the problem. It starts to peak, and then we start getting concerned about why we feel that way. Why am I getting anxious? Why am I talking fast? Why is this happening? Oh my God, this is happening again. So instead of coming down, it goes right back up. And then it loops and loops and loops. So when you're speaking and you find yourself, oh, I'm speaking really fast, I'm getting really anxious, tell yourself this will only last 30 to 60 seconds. Let me just allow it to happen, okay? So I want you to continue speaking for about 60 seconds and just allow the emotion to ride off. It will go up, but then it will come right back down. I don't care what you say, just notice the feeling in your heart, okay? Can we do that? Same exact thing, tell us about what you did since you woke up and you came here to this event, okay? Mm-hmm. All right, as slow as possible.
Hello, everyone. I feel so I'm going to share a story of my boring day. I woke up really late today, and around noon, because I'm unemployed, so I don't need to maintain the regular routine like before. After woke up, my boyfriend cooked me the meal and I really enjoy it. Usually for the afternoon time is my most productive time. I use it for study. For today, I study very important courses on Coursera, and that's related to product management. And usually my cat leave me alone, but today she seems have something happened really like stick with me, and she interrupted me all the time and like hanging between me and my computers. And I feel like this is the only special and excitement things in today.
Pause, okay. Did she look relaxed? How do you feel?
All my energy is focused on push me to slow down.
Mm-hmm. You're very conscious of it right now, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel more relaxed now compared to the first time?
Definitely.
Right? So any emotion, it will eventually fade out if you let it fade out. What you don't want to do is punish yourself for feeling that way. And I'll give you a really simple analogy. If you were to go skydiving, right? You've never gone skydiving before, you jumped out of a plane. Your heart is going to be beating out of your chest, right? Will any of you say, why is this happening to me? It's the expected response. But when we're in front of people, all of a sudden we make it about our identity. Why am I like this? Why is this my personality? No, this is just a situation. It's a hard situation. Your heart will beat up. I want you to try one more thing because you're doing really well. This will take some time as you practice, but I want to address your volume as well. Can you do me a favor really quickly? Can you just put your left hand on your chest like so, and your right hand on your belly, okay? I just want you to breathe normally and just observe which hand rises more as you breathe. Don't change anything about your breathing. Just observe.
Belly.
Belly rises more? Okay. I want you to keep your hand here now. You can remove this one. Now, I want you to exhale all of the air from your mouth, everything. And when I ask you, I want you to just say your name. So you're going to say your name with no air at all, okay? Just exhale now. Audibly. Say your name.
Rebecca.
Okay. Did you breathe in before you did that?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Exhale completely, no air, and just say your name. Okay, 3, 2, 1, exhale.
Rebecca.
Did you hear the voice? Yeah. What happened to the voice? Struggling. There's no power behind it. The power in the voice comes from the air in the belly. Now I want you to do the opposite. I want you to take a really deep breath. Think of your breath like a spring. When you breathe, the spring coils up, there's a lot of tension, and when you speak, all of the words come out with it. So deep breath to the belly and say your name, but as loud as you can with the air pushed out, okay? Take deep breath. Breathe in. Name.
Rebecca.
Was it louder? Can we push that a little bit more? But I'm going to do something a little different. Most of the time, we have to go by ear. I have what's called a decibel meter, which measures, okay? So I'm going to put it right underneath you here, like so. Just say your name normally,
Rebecca.
looking at the audience.
Rebecca.
Okay. Now keep saying it and say it louder every single time you say it by continuing to breathe from your belly, okay? So breathe really deeply, say your name.
Rebecca.
Keep going.
Rebecca. Rebecca.
Louder,
Rebecca.
a little louder.
Rebecca.
Okay, now take a really deep breath with your belly.
Rebecca.
Is it getting louder? Yeah, can we keep pushing it? Two more
Can I
times?
switch to Pikachu?
Sure. Rebecca, okay. So, let's say you just saw a Pikachu walk through the door, okay?
Yeah.
Let's say that.
Pikachu.
Louder.
Pikachu.
Louder.
Pikachu.
Louder.
Pikachu.
Is it getting louder or what? So if you can learn to breathe from here instead of from here, your voice will naturally get louder. This is also one of those things where normally we talk very, very quiet and we have to be uncomfortable. Did you feel uncomfortable talking that loudly?
Yeah.
Did it sound like she was screaming to any of you?
I feels like I'm screaming.
This is the barrier we have to cross because most of the time we think we're loud, but on the outside we're not. I bet when you were talking the first time you thought you were loud enough,
Yeah.
but everyone said you were quiet. And now you sound amazing and you think you're screaming, but everyone says you're great. So I want you to practice speaking from here and I want you to practice slowing down, okay? All right, give a round of applause, folks. Have a seat, have a seat. Okay, we're going to touch on something really interesting in just a bit. Azhar, I'll have you next, please. If I understand it correctly, you do corporate presentations?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I want to evaluate you based on the context that's most helpful for you. So in this situation, am I picturing you on stage or in a corporate meeting? Like where are you?
Corporate meeting is good.
Corporate meeting, okay, got it. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna ask you a question. Just give me a 3 to 5 minute answer, okay?
I'll try.
Can I borrow one of the evaluation forms? Do we have any left? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Perfect.
Azhar, A-Z-H-A-R.
Okay, Azhar. Your question is, first of all, can we give him a round of applause, please? Okay. Azhar, what is something you're extremely good at and how did you get to that point?
Interesting question, Yasser. Thank you for that question because it kind of touches upon a very important topic to me, close to me, which is being self-aware. And it is a journey in itself, self-awareness. And as part of that self-awareness journey, you have to understand what you're good at, what your strengths are, and what you suck at. Sorry about the language, but eventually what happened as part of this awareness journeys, I got to know what few of my strengths are. And obviously you have to lean on your support, on your colleagues, on your peers to understand what it is. And I've come to a conclusion that it happens to be communication skills. I believe I'm good at it, but there is always room for improvement, right? And that is the reason why I am here trying to sharpen the toolkit, if I have to say so. Obviously, I am from India, so it goes without saying how much communication skills has helped me reach where I am. Started off in India in God knows what school, did graduation, and eventually landed up here in Toronto working for the biggest IT company, FOF Canada, in one of the most sought after fields, cybersecurity. Obviously, hard skills do matter, but eventually what I believe has led me to here, and by no means I consider myself success. Success is very personal to each and every one of us. In my own terminology, if I have to define my success, knowing the background that I've come from, where I've landed, being in front of all you people, speaking in English, speaking about communication skills, in turn learning about communication skills, it's just been a great journey. And I think that's one thing that communication skills, soft skills, has helped me come here. And I very strongly believe that is one of my strong suit.
Round of applause, folks. Okay. Can I start on this side, please? Rebecca? One sentence good and one sentence area to improve.
I think the good part is it looks pretty relaxed, and you take the suggestion and move around, and the part of the pace and the volume for my personal preference, I think, is really good. The only part is that's a little bit hard for me to follow word structure.
Of course. For sure, thank you.
Says is like suddenly the trusting is really understandable.
Thank you.
Azhar,
yeah.
Azhar, so again, overall, great to see you here. You said 1-1. So the good thing is like body language was good, right? Content was okay. Only thing which I could say would improve is a wider eye contact from rest of the group. So like what I felt that, I don't know if you were staying on that spot, looking more, or your overall direction was mostly on that part. So yeah, so this is one of the points.
Absolutely, thank you. Thank you.
Kizar?
Yeah, so the strength was that there was a personal story, so it came out very naturally. It spoke about self-awareness, and you're actually very self-aware about yourself, so that's good. Areas of improvement, it seemed like you were talking to Yasser.
I agree.
Talk to the audience, eye contact with everyone, and more movement, and not just staying in one place.
For sure, thank you so much.
David?
Yeah, I thought it was really great. Very confident. I mostly just had strengths, and then I figured out one area of improvement, and it was opposite of the strengths. So the strength, I had put your message. The message was very clear. I'm good at communication. The weakness, message. Okay. In the sense that there was no proof really of that. There was no doubt. There was no reasoning. There was nothing other than I'm good.
And
Surfaces.
Thank you.
okay, Maria?
I like the volume and experience that you've projected. I agree with the rest of the team that you started focusing a lot on Yasser. I wish you could have elaborated more on the story, because I was getting engaged when you said, I went to, I don't know about a school, and then I went to this university, but then I was like, I want more details. And I also feel the use of the conductor voice was a bit monotonous, but that might
We're seeing a trend here. Whenever someone tells a story, where we gravitate more towards them, right? So you can see the importance of storytelling here. I thought we had some sort of a connection here, because you kept looking at me the whole time. Right? There's a certain phenomenon here where oftentimes we start looking at someone of authority for validation.
Yes.
So a lot of times when someone says, hey, can you give a speech? And yeah, so you start looking at the person who gave you the request a lot of times. And what that shows is you're looking for approval.
Right.
And it's very, very subconscious. So his point about speaking to the audience is also very important. I love how you have a booming voice. I really like your voice. You're very strong. You move your hands a lot. I also like how you were utilizing the stage. However, I would recommend you use it purposefully. If you're just talking like this and just moving around left to right, there's no purpose to it. So usually when you're transitioning from one point to the next point, it makes sense to move here to there. Or if in your story movement is involved, then start moving. Otherwise, people will just ignore your body language altogether. I feel like your biggest area to improve is the structure, because I felt, and let me know if anyone agreed with me, I felt like I didn't know where it was going.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it disjointed. And I feel like one of the challenges you have is you don't quite know where to start, where to end, and how to fill it up. Quite a lot like Rebecca, where you're just thinking of the next thing to say. Is that the case?
Yeah, that was happening.
Okay,
Yeah.
So we're going to help you solve that. Let's take that same exact question. I'm going to give you a quick structure to follow, okay?
For sure.
This is the one you've heard before. In one sentence, if I were to ask you, what's one thing you're really good at? What would that thing be?
I'd still stick to the same concept.
Okay, so just say it out loud.
Communication skills.
So one thing that I'm really good at is communication skills. So that would be the first sentence of your entire speech, okay? Then what I want you to do is either give me one story or give me one reason that backs that point up. So can you think of a reason why you are good at communication skills?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can have a tangible. I was an MC for a Pecha Kucha event that happened in India,
Okay.
wherein the audience was close to about 300, 500 people.
Okay.
So I had that experience and there.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So that's a good point, and it's a good example and a story itself. So what I want you to do is start by saying, the one thing that I'm really good at is communication skills. The reason I say this is back in India when I was emceeing, and then you talk about that story for a bit. So if I had to pick one thing I'm really good at, it will be communication skills. Can we see the structure there? Clear point, clear justification, clear point again. So the structure is point, reason or story, and point again.
Point again is...
Yeah, point again to wrap up, because usually people tell a story and then they say, yeah, so that's all from my side, and they end really awkwardly.
Yeah.
So instead what you want to do is hammer that point home. So communication skills is one thing I'm really good at. And no one has any question about whether you're done talking or not.
Fair enough.
Make sense? So point, reason, point. Can we try that again?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I'll give that a try.
And this time, look at the audience.
Yeah. So that's as part of self-awareness, I'm digressing, but that happens a lot.
Okay.
It's just the nature. Even on the calls, when you have a senior executive on the call, I get very conscious. Oh my God, what do I say?
That's
Do
okay.
I fumble?
That's okay.
But anyway.
All right, round of applause for him again, please. Azhar, what's one thing you're really good at?
I am really good at communication skills. And the reason why I say is I was part of Toastmasters, which led me to a great opportunity where I could MC for an event like Pecha Kucha. Now, this is an event where you have 5 or 6 people speaking for about 30 seconds and sharing their passion. And being a moderator there and meeting these creative people and speaking to an audience of 500 people, it really meant a lot to me. It kind of boosted my confidence. Obviously, this confidence carries over into my professional experience, and which is where I believe in my own definition, I think is as a success. Finally, I want to wrap it up by saying that I am good at communication skills. Thank you.
How did that sound? Was that a little less rambly than last time? Yeah? How did you feel?
I felt I had a structure this time.
Yeah.
I knew what I can speak. It felt a lot more structured, and obviously I was making eye contact.
Yeah.
It was obvious.
And you could tell that you knew where you were going. And if you want to remember a speech, the hack to that is remember a story. Because if you remember 17 different points, it's very, very hard to know the sequence and how to mix them. But if you just know one story, no one can argue that story. You just know how it flows, right? It's very easy to remember all of that. I'm going to give you another question now that you don't know about. Let's try the same thing again, point, reason, point, just to make sure it hit home, okay? All right. Does anyone have a suggestion for a question that's a little bit harder than the one I asked?
Yeah. So he can talk about the worst gift that he's ever given to someone.
There you go. So Azhar, what's the worst gift you've ever given someone? Hopefully it's not someone close to you.
Wow. I'm thinking. How about this? Let me start. Thanks for the question. The worst gift is that I've never given a gift on my wife's birthday. And the reason why I say is because I remember that specific event or that specific birthday of hers where I asked her to wake me up at 12 a.m. so that I can wish her birthday. I was too tired, guys, and I wanted to get a nap before it was 12 a.m. And not to my surprise, she did not wake me up. And to top it all, I did not have any gift for her birthday. Eventually, for me, that was a gift which was not given, but at the same time, a very bad gift in totality for my wife on her birthday. That's it.
Just pause. Very good up until the very end.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice? So that's it. Right? You did amazing, but that's what people do. They forget to close at the end, right? So if I had to think of one gift that I gave someone, it would be the one that I never gave. Now you know it's ended right away, right? So I love how you naturally come up with stories. He's very funny. He's able to come up with them on the spot. And I feel like the more you tell us stories, the more we can connect with you. Just remember to close at the end. Okay? Very well done, my friend.
Sir.
Give him a round of applause, please. Okay, so Maria, I'm not concerned about how well you speak, because the problem that you outlined is just the anxiety and the nervousness part.
I'm very nervous.
I just want you to allow yourself to be nervous, okay? If you get a little emotional, if it's getting angsty, adrenaline, allow yourself, okay? The only way you can mess this up is if you do a good job, okay? So do a bad job on purpose. Okay, ready, Maria? Let's give her a round of applause. Okay. Maria, what is something you can talk about forever?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria, and if there's something I can say that I love to talk about is artificial intelligence and business analysis. I am an engineer by training, and since I graduated, I gravitated toward business because I think that's where money is. So I like to combine the idea of mixing technology with business and see how these two powerful areas can deliver a great outcome. In my roles, I've been able to translate business requirements from the business side to the technology side to bring products to life. And to let you know more about artificial intelligence, this is an area where we can help predict an outcome. Whether it's the next word, like ChatGPT, for example, or whether it's your next sales, artificial intelligence will help you be more productive. It can also help you reduce costs, or it can help you generate more revenue. And there are so many areas in artificial intelligence. One that is very used is machine learning. In machine learning, we have prediction. And the good thing about machine learning is that the models can help you understand the next prediction. So people or researchers can understand what's going on beneath the hood behind those models. There is a subset or sub-area in machine learning called deep learning. In this area, we have a challenge, and it's that the models are hard to explain. And that's why big institutions like finance, for example, or where we have stakeholders involved, don't use these type of models because are hard to explain why the model made certain decisions. So for example, if you go to a bank and you want to get a loan, if we use deep learning models, then the customer will want to know why their loan was not approved and will have challenge to explain that to them because there's not a way to understand fully. So as you can hear, I could keep talking about artificial intelligence for hours, but I'm going to wrap it up here and hear any questions that you might have for me.
Well done. I could certainly tell you could talk for another hour about that subject, right? Okay, let me hear from Rebecca.
There's so many things I really like. These ways your body presentation, eye contact, and voice, I think all good. And the special part I really enjoy is the level of the because artificial intelligence and machine learning actually involve a lot of information that actually is a very hard to understand topic, but you provide very good level of the depth instead of talking a lot of terminology or things you're interested in but people don't understand. So this is the part I think is you really good at. It's actually really hard because I call a lot of professionals to do social media comment. They always think too much, too deep about the topic instead of consider the audience. And for my part, I think and improve. Like when you're talking about the things you're really good at, you have confidence. With your whole body showing your confidence. But when there's afraid, you kind of nervous. Other than that, I really like it.
Can I ask you a question? What made you feel like she was nervous? What did you see or notice?
Personally, because we have similar issue. Like I can feel her voice as a little issue. I know like how her voice gonna sound like when her normal speaking. Even though I know she is trying to apply or being calm down, kind of can pick up.
Yeah, that's good to know. Good to know.
Yes, thank
Zebu?
Yeah, so Maria, I could see the excitement, the energy when you started off, like with the topic of AI, right? And then, so body language was also good. Only one point where I got a little bit, I would say, lost, that, when you were trying to, so I don't know how to say it, Yasser, but so there's the story part, basically. It's not about something, the content or the language, it was the story itself again. So which was a little bit going zigzag. So like, about deep learning or machine learning and all sort of those things. So, but otherwise the audio language was great, eye contact was excellent. And you had like you were talking with a passion. And I know your English is not your first language, right? But if you have been talking, is it Spanish?
Yes,
yeah. So if you have been speaking in Spanish, that would have been way, way different than what you were doing. Thank you. It was just a little bit of barrier.
Yeah.
Language.
Okay.
Otherwise, excellent.
Nazar?
Pretty much agree on the passion. You could feel the passion you have for the subject it was coming through. But along with the passion, I guess if we are similar in that point, story point, I kind of was trying to figure that out as well. A good module with icon, good gestures.
Okay.
Thanks.
Gizar?
Starting with the positives first, so great body language, icon, gestures, great reading. Was a strong start and you're very knowledgeable about what you were speaking. Area of improvement could be, you talked about AI, right? Why should the audience care about AI? So just use a strong example, like if you're someone who works in copywriting, you should be scared because that could have been, would have engaged the audience.
Thank you. The story, yes.
Yeah, story seems to be the underlying element for everybody. David?
I loved your movement on stage. You had presence and passion and joy even. You struggled to maintain that through areas where word shuttle was next. That's where I saw some fear. A great use of the example that was very helpful. Wasn't sure if there was a message or what the message was.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
I'm going to make some assumptions as well. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and I very well may be. I feel like before you stepped on here, you had a checklist of things you wanted to do during the speech.
Yes, all the recommendations that I
Some sort of magician, right? Yeah, so you had a laundry list of things, and the moment you started speaking, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to do that, right? I felt that at the start, when I asked the question, there was a split second when I was done asking the question and you launched into it right away. So to me, that tells me you just wanted to get it over with. Just get into it as soon as possible. Every time you take time to think about it and process, number one, it'll help you relax. Take extra time to think about it, allow your brain to breathe, and give yourself some time. I'm going to give you feedback only in the context of nervousness and anxiety, because even though you did a lot of good things, the main thing you're trying to accomplish today is get over the anxiety part, right? So number one, the same way I told Rebecca, I think your speed was very fast. I don't think you normally talk fast. I think when you're nervous, you start talking faster. Is that right?
That's true.
So we must consciously first slow down. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to slow down again. But so much so that when I asked you afterwards, did it feel uncomfortable with how slow you were going? The answer will be yes. Okay? So it should be very, very slow. I don't care about what you say, your hand movements, none of those stuff. The only thing is, do you talk slowly? And just measure how it feels in your body. It's not wrong to feel anxious. We're trying to feel anxious, but let's just study that. Let's just observe it like a scientist.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm going to ask you just to talk about your day, a lot like Rebecca. Just slow everything down. That's the only goal. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Maria, just tell me what you did since you woke up and you came to this meeting.
Okay. Today I woke up very early because I had to go into the office. It was a very early morning, so I had to get ready very quickly. I didn't have time to prepare my breakfast, and I didn't even have a chance to make coffee. Luckily, my husband made some coffee for the two of us, and it was good because it kept me warm while I went out. Then I took the tram to get into the office and rushed quickly to get into it. It was a very productive morning. I had a few calls with a few business partners. We talked about AI and the strategy, and then at noon, I was able to go and grab a quick bite next to...
Pause. Did she look calmer compared to the first time? Yes. How does it feel in your head?
Oh, it feels that my heart is beating so fast.
And slow it down even more then, okay? The slowing down, the heartbeat is going to stay there. The only time it will start beating even faster is if you're conscious of why it's happening.
Okay.
So it's completely normal, allow it to happen. Just go even slower, okay? Eventually your heart will get bored. Like, I can't keep beating this fast. How much longer will this take? Okay? Same exact thing. Tell me the painstaking detail. I grabbed the sugar, I put it in my coffee, then I looked at my watch, everything. Slow it down, okay?
Can I change the topic?
Sure, what do you want to talk about?
When I arrived in Canada.
Let's do that,
Okay,
let's do that.
I feel more comfortable with that one. Okay. I arrived in Canada 4 years ago. It was a very interesting decision for me to move from one country to another. I remember when I got into Pearson Airport, it was a very good and sunny day. I took the bus right away and then went into what was going to be my hometown, which was Hamilton. I lived in Hamilton for 3 years. I came as an international student, and that's where I took my postgraduate certificate. During my time in Hamilton, I was able to create a community. I was able to connect with like-minded people and make good connections. So much that some of them are my best friends right now.
Pause. Do you feel uncomfortable with how slow you're going?
Yes,
right?
but my heart isn't beating that much.
It's
so
slowing down, right?
Yes.
So this is what happens when you slow down the pace. Everything else becomes a little easier. And all you need to do is allow yourself the time. Because the first time you came up and you spoke, I feel like you were a little critical of yourself too, because you were getting anxious. Do you think that's the case?
Yes.
Right? So you will write out the emotion and, oh, why is this happening? And then it gets worse and worse and worse. That's why your heart keeps beating. If the first time when you came in, you said, no matter how prepared I am, the first minute my heart will beat out of my chest. I cannot avoid it. It will eventually go away. Okay. So any soccer fans here? Anyone watches football? Is it? Okay, one person. I don't watch it either, but I'm glad someone does, right? Pretend like you're Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Does everyone know who that is?
Yes.
Okay. Arguably one of the best in the world at football or soccer, whatever part of the world you're from. Imagine it's the World Cup final, there's 1 minute left, and he's taking a penalty shot.
Well, we have witnessed it.
Right? Exactly. Do you think he's going to be nervous in that moment? Obviously, right? Is he going to say, why am I getting nervous? Oh my God, I don't know how to do this. No, it's just a natural expected response. So for you, what you're experiencing is pressure. The way our body responds to pressure is by releasing adrenaline, heartbeats. So it's a very biological thing. And now you're noticing you've been up here for about 4 to 5 minutes. Is it much better now than it was at the first one?
Oh, yes.
Right? Now you can probably do an hour of AI talking, right? Yes. I don't have the room book for that long, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would.
One very quick question.
Yes.
You know, it's an observation.
Yes.
You know, when she started off very first time,
Yeah.
so her body language was much better. And
Yes.
I thought she was more relaxed
Yes.
in the beginning.
Right.
Apart from the voice or content.
Yes.
But now, since you ask her to do 1 minute thing or something, she is totally like, you know,
Yeah.
with the, like, so very close gesture.
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to know the reason.
There's 2 reasons for that. Number one, every time we are nervous, and this is very beneficial for you too, whenever we're nervous, we hide our hands, okay? Particularly our thumbs, okay? When you see someone do body language like this, usually it's very confident, blah, 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 blah. But what if this turns into this? So, hey everyone, today, can you just tell the difference between this and this? This is just the thumbs. So what happens if not just the thumbs, you just remove the hands altogether? So every time we don't feel safe, we either try to block our body and hide our organs, try to do this, or we try to do this, try to hide our hands. Some people do this. Some people aren't even satisfied here. They'll start crossing their legs, right? Some people won't even look at the audience. So the more we try to hide from the audience, the more it shows anxiety. So for her, when she came on the first time, she had a mental checklist. I need to do these 8 things because he talked about that earlier. So she started performing. But then what happened? Her heartbeat caught up. She started getting nervous, talking a lot, and then she forget everything. Because when you're trying to do 10 things at the same time, you just can't. It falls apart. Now I told her, nothing matters, just observe one thing. So she's not trying. Yeah, she's not trying, so now all of her natural body language is coming in. So when you would naturally be speaking, your hands will be here, and they will be more visible. I'm not concerned about it because I'm trying to solve more of the anxiety problem with you, okay? Did it help? Did it ease off your anxiety? I'm going to give you a solution in about half an hour from now of how you can prepare leading up to your presentation so you know how to deal with this when this happens.
Perfect.
Okay? All right, round of applause. Okay, any questions that have come up in the past 5 minutes?
Yeah, how to create
A solid story.
A solid story. Well, the main foundation was the structure that I gave you. That's probably the most important part. Where any good story has, let me rephrase that, every good story is about emotional change. If there is no emotional change in the story, it's a sequence of events, it's not a story. So that's why whenever you are speaking and you want the audience to feel something, take them low at a certain point, then bring them back up. And ideally, you want to leave them at a point back up. So you'll see, I made this mistake. I really wanted to be a motivational speaker back in the day, so I wanted to tell the most vulnerable stories ever. My first corporate event, someone invited me over and I said, oh, I've got this tearjerker of a story. I came and I talked about this story and everyone's getting really emotional. And then I just stopped talking, and that was it. And then the feedback I got after that was, hey, we were really hoping you could uplift our people and not make them depressed the rest of the day. Like, oh, I forgot about that part. Right? So take them on a journey up and down, up and down. And the structure that I've given you, the problem, cure, solution, it's laid out in that way, where it's up and down, up and down. Another thing I'll share with you on that front is you can make a lot of things in storytelling sound interesting just by being abrupt with how you change your tone. So for example, if I were to just tell the story again, I was hired by a company to do a keynote, and I was really excited. I landed there, they picked me up from the airport, they took me to a fancy hotel, 5 stars, they handed me a check for $10,000. I showed up there and she said, hey, you're gonna do an amazing job, right? I said, yes, I'm gonna do an amazing job. 10,000 people. I bombed. I forgot my speech. Did you see that energy shift there? High energy, boom. Did you feel the weight of that impact there? So all I did was I took you on an emotional high and then I changed the emotion. So when you do that throughout your speech, that's how you make a story engaging. Okay? Any other questions? You're looking at me like, okay, I'm ready to go. All right, Kizar, come on up. Let's give him a round of applause, folks. Kizar, from what I read about you in your notes, your goal is more around content creation, is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you speak on any stages or at work? Is that a concern or?
I don't speak, that is a concern.
Okay, so if I just get you to say your name, we've accomplished our job today, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time. You can. Okay, I'm only analyzing you based on how anxious you look, and I want you to analyze yourself only on allowing yourself to feel that. Okay? Don't try to be Tony Robbins or anything. Let's just see how it works out. Only make mistakes. That's all I'm looking for. What's been something you struggled with for a long time, but you finally overcame it?
All right. Thank you for that topic, Yasser. And before I get into it, I just want everyone's attention. So let's start with a quick joke. What do you call a short mother? Anyone? Minimum. Anyone? Anyways, now that we're past the anxiety. So one thing that I've really struggled with pretty much all my adult life is number one, depression, and number two, generalized anxiety. And it's been a long journey so far. And I won't say that, I've overcome it. It's an ongoing struggle. But the thing is that I've finally found out some ways that can help me cope with it. And the number one thing that really helps is just putting it out on the table and talking to people about it. So it's 2023 and everyone's an advocate about something. I consider myself to be a mental health advocate and talk more and more about it because like I mentioned, that's what really gets people going. So my vision now is to create a safe space where people feel less alone. Because the number one feeling that you have when you're going through something is that I am the only person in the entire world who's going through this. So when I can, come up on a stage or in a public setting, and I can tell you about all my achievements. I have an MBA in marketing. I have 5 years sales experience under my belt. I spent about 1,000 hours in therapy, and I traveled 6,000 miles to get to Canada to start my life from scratch. So that really helps me fight my second thoughts, which tell me why am I not capable to talk about this? Why would people want to listen to me? This is exactly why they will want to listen to me, because I am someone who wants you to feel less alone. So if there's one message that I want you to take away from my entire speech, is that if not now, then when? If not me, then who? Thank you so much.
Well done, well done. You weren't kidding about that TED Talk, were you?
I was.
Okay, now this was him on the spot. Imagine if he was prepared, right? Can I get your feedback, please? We'll go this way.
Sure. So I love the way I contact the body language. I like when you start and breaking down their story, like so number one, number two. The overall story kept me engaged. The final message was a good way to wrap it up. I like the pace and the volume. And the other area of improvement, I think, is that you move a little bit too much, or as Yasser was mentioning, like without purpose. So I felt like I was just moving my eyes about.
Thank you.
Okay, David?
really great confidence, really great eye contact, great presence, great body language, great movement, great volume. I didn't understand some of the words. I kind of went a little low. You kind of followed those. And I didn't. I think you were trying to create structure, which I think was great. But I don't think it worked. Like the joke or the end message, I didn't see how it fit. Other than maybe you had reversed it and you were like, I gotta create messages. I can end with, but it didn't fit with anything that you said. So
Okay, thank you.
So great body language, as we always mentioned, with extra movement, which eliminated. So that's one area of improvement. Otherwise, the way you engage the audience and got their attention to you, it was great. GS, and you mentioned it doesn't type as they are, and it's not in points to be. Volume was very, very great message. Overall, on the spot, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so overall great, really great. And especially the thing which I like most is the hooking up the audience in the very beginning, you know. Although maybe the joke was not understood by everyone, but it was engaging. Okay, and then secondly, which Rebecca said, I think all of them, that to me, it was a little bit more like movement. So, like from up, body language was great, but the movement was a little bit more, which was keeping us moving as well.
Is that a good thing or?
I mean, to somehow, at the end, it felt a little bit distracting.
Oh, okay.
A little bit.
Gotcha.
But like only the vocal part. Above that part, it was great.
Okay.
So, like openness and everything. And then I think we did really well at the end. So the conclusion, it was really good.
Thank you.
Rebecca?
So when I listen to what I want to speech, I feel like, yes, are you sure those people have communication problem? Like, it's pretty hard for me to find the things here to improve since it's very ad hoc stage. So I really like the interactive and structure, as well as you put some story, and definitely capture people attention, as well as figures of emotion. So basically, you're very fast learner because something Yasser mentioned, you all included. The only things I can find and suggest is actually David already mentioned some of the words. It's a little bit hard for me to catch, but it doesn't.
Can you guys give me examples of what words exactly?
I can't. I didn't understand the word.
Yeah, it's hard to know what word when they didn't understand the
No,
word.
I mean the context, like when the word came up.
In the joke, when you're transitioning, you were ending the joke. That was in the joke, but it was ending the joke session. You said something.
I think he said, I'm going to feel anxiety again or something like that.
It was exactly.
Yeah.
Something where
I remember that.
was like I was waiting to hear what you were going to end with.
Yeah.
And then I just lead into yourself with that last word. Like, I don't know what you said.
So when you watch the playback, I think it'll be helpful to see which areas were a little unclear.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. In general, for first try, it was great. I want to ask you, how do you feel internally in terms of nervousness and anxiety?
I feel like I had more things to say,
Okay.
but then in my mind, I'm just creating this story that I need to keep it limited. I don't want to talk about all of it.
Right.
I can talk for 15, 20 minutes. But I just want to summarize it in a way that, I just keep the most interesting things in my speech and just skip out things that, that'll just make the message even longer and, difficult to comprehend.
So were you anxious about the fact that you were going to talk for too long?
I was, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you were anxious about?
I think that's pretty much
Okay, so you were afraid that you might talk for too long. That was your main concern.
Yeah, and talk about things that just prolong the message.
Got it. Did anyone feel like you talked for too long? Okay, so you did a reasonably good job of that. How did you feel in terms of your heartbeat and your adrenaline?
So when I started with the joke,
Yeah.
and it did not land well.
Yeah.
That got me like, okay, I shouldn't have done that.
So here's a pro tip. Unless you're really good at it, don't start with a joke, because what happens is you bury yourself and then you have to dig yourself out and do an even better job after that.
Yes. So that really like took a hit. So then I was like, I really need to make a good speech for that. And the message at the end, it was because, you know, it is a good message, but it did not connect with my overall speech.
Yeah. Here's my feedback for you. I think generally a lot of the points we discussed earlier, you implemented, the walking around and gestures. What I liked about what you did is you broke everything down into points, and that made it easy for us to understand. Number one, number two, number three. Quick hack, if you want to sound like an expert, just divide something into points. So if I said, here are a couple of things you can do to become a better public speaker, or here are 5 things you can do to become a better public speaker. All I did was divide it into points, and it just makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about, right? And you naturally do that, which I like a lot. Some things that will improve your speech, I feel like your entire speech, although not monotone, emotionally is the same. Did anyone feel like it was the same emotion pretty much throughout the whole thing, right? So when I was giving him the example of the story, the emotion varied a lot. And I think your story was very, very powerful. There's a lot of room to take us on a very exciting part and then drop the emotion. And right at the end too, I feel like you left it at a very serious moment. This is my message. Think about that for a bit. And okay. I don't know what to do with this information, right? So when you're ending, you want to think with my message, what does the audience have to think, feel, or do? Because if I don't know those things, then I don't know what to take away from your message. So what was the key takeaway from your speech again?
The last quote.
Yes, the last message, yeah.
The last quote was, if not now, then when?
Yeah.
If not me, then who?
When I heard that, I did not know how to apply that to my life. So if not now, then when what? What am I supposed to be doing? So a call to action about, should I seek therapy? Should I go out of my comfort zone? What are you trying to convince me of? And by the way, it's hard to do all that on the spot, so I'm just nitpicking here. What I'd like you to try, I'm going to give you 2 indications. One is going to be this, and one is going to be that. When I do this, I want you to give me a happy emotion. So yeah, I was doing this, blah, blah, blah. And when I do this, very, very serious, okay? I'm only going to get you to talk about your day. So for example, if I was to talk about my day, it would be, if it was like this, I woke up in the morning and I couldn't wait to go to the bathroom and brush my teeth, but I was out of toothpaste. And I had to figure out what to do. So then I called up my girlfriend and I said, hey, where's the toothpaste? What's going on here? And she said, hey, have you checked in the counter? Can you see the emotional variation there?
Yeah.
So I just want you to try doing that.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All I want is your day start to finish, follow my thumb left to right, okay?
Okay.
All right. And you might have to look in my direction, that's okay. I don't really care
Okay.
for it. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So this day started as usual. The alarm rang and, you know, I wasn't up the first time, just like I am every day. So I snoozed the first time and I snoozed it again. And at this time I was really cursing myself, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, just get up and get on with your day. But finally, when I was up, I made my bed the first thing, because I think that is the first thing that, you know, really gets you going. It's the first achievement. But sadly, I was still down. I was drowsy. So I really needed something to get me going. And then I got my cup of tea, which is the best thing about today
Okay,
already.
pause. Are we seeing a difference here? Yeah, you're smiling like, oh, I like, does it sound like the most interesting day in the world? The energy variation. Do you feel it when you're doing it?
I do.
Also, your baseline volume skyrocketed. You became so much louder. Did I tell him to do anything with his body language? Did we notice his body language getting more confident, right? Let's try this for a much longer speech, okay?
Sure.
Let's keep doing. I'm gonna go behind there just so you don't have to.
Is it still about my day?
Let's give him a question. What's an interesting question that he can speak about, but it has to be a really boring topic?
Maybe the foreign the same you think.
Sorry?
The foreign experience in time.
The most boring experience that I've ever had?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'll have to think about it. Okay, I'll try. So, thank you, Rebecca, for asking me to speak about the most boring experience I've ever had. It's tough to talk about it because it's the most boring experience. It's not the most exciting experience. That's why it's very tough for me to talk about it. Now, here's what happened. I joined a Toastmasters club like Azhar did. And it's an amazing club. Why? Because you have all the like-minded individuals in one room. You don't feel nervous because everyone wants to learn something. And it was amazing. So they invited me to this Christmas party last night. And I went there hoping that, there's going to be some great music. Everyone's having a great time, just, connecting with everyone. And it was good until the point when I got there. It was like a Toastmasters class only. It wasn't like a Christmas party where everyone's having a good time. Everyone's just sitting in a round table setting. They have like a drink in their hand. They have like some music playing in the background. And everyone's just looking at each other. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I could have gone to a more, happening event, but this is what I choose to do with my life. So I was like, okay, let me just do one thing that I can, take away from this event. So I started connecting with people on a more one-to-one level. And I discovered this amazing individual. He's from Chennai, and he's working for a bank. That's quite boring, right? But he did happen to have quite an interesting personality. He talks about cybersecurity and IT and all of those things, and it got me really excited as well, until it did not, because that was all that he had to talk about. So, I was like, now let me talk. So I spoke about food. I talked about biryani. That's the most amazing thing in the world. If I'm sad, I have biryani. If I'm happy, I have biryani. If I'm celebrating, I have biryani. So you understand, the kind of love that I have with food. It's not just food. It's an emotion. It's a lifestyle. So that's, that was my experience that I had last night.
All right. Was that different compared to the first one? What was different?
Emotional engagement, it could engage all your mind. Like, even though when you share the story in your previous speech, it kept me engaged. It didn't do this level. And yeah.
And the topic was the most boring thing that's happened to it, right? Did it sound interesting?
Yeah, I think. Well, when you have your speech, you said you're going to have a joke, but actually it's kind of boring. And now you're telling us the boring things.
And that's interesting.
She was laughing the whole time.
And even she was. That's why I tend to look more, where people are more engaged, because that gets me motivated.
For you, I find that you have. Can we tell he has the ability to be a very good speaker? Yeah. But it's just like having that range of emotion, I think really unlocks your personality. In this one, I thought I could see all aspects of who you are. Do we see aspects of his personality more than we did last time? Right? So the more expressive you are, the better you sound. And also, I feel like I don't have to individually tell you, change your body language, move around more, talk. You just did it automatically. All I had to tell you is what emotion to do. So I think you've done a phenomenal job. Now let me ask you this, how did you feel inside?
I felt way better compared to last time. The first speech that I did was kind of about mental health. So naturally I kept it like mellowed down and didn't, show too much emotion.
Yeah.
But now I realize even if you're doing like a boring sort of speech, if you add emotion to it, that's going to have a bigger impact.
Yeah.
So that's my learning.
A really quick exercise for everybody. If you're at home, pick something that's extremely boring, like this pen, for example. And I want you to challenge yourself by just describing the object. How can you just make it sound interesting? So can you just try to talk about this, but make it sound boring on purpose?
Okay.
Just talk about it like right now, like it's boring.
So I don't need to be uplifting, I'm just
boring. Bore the heck out of me.
Okay. This thing in my hand right now is the most basic pen that I've ever seen in my entire lifetime.
I would say he's still kind of interesting. Right? I think you're still a little interesting, right?
Okay, so I need to tone it down?
Just, you're bored to death of it. Yeah, this is a pen, it's blue.
Okay, I'll try again. Guess what it is? It's a pen. It's a no-brainer. You don't need to think about it. It's the most basic pen that I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, pause. I'm going to fall asleep shortly, but that's a really good job. Now do the opposite. Try to make it sound interesting.
Okay. This is the most amazing pen that I've ever seen in my life. And I've lived 3 decades, so that's long enough. You know what makes this the most interesting pen? The thing that makes it the most interesting pen is that Elon Musk used the same pen when he was signing.
Okay, pause. So you can't change the story to make it interesting. You have to say it in a way that's interesting.
Okay. So Elon Musk. So can I
just talk about the pen? Just
because
describe.
he used the pen.
So for example, can I give you an indication here? If I were to be really boring with this, I'll give you a different object. This is a blue pen. I write with this pen. Sometimes I get ideas in the middle of the night and I need something to write on, so I just, take this pen and I write my ideas. And in the morning, sometimes I apply them and make YouTube videos out of those ideas. Boring, right? Let me try this again. This pen is responsible for every single idea that I've executed on. Why? In the middle of the night, I get some ideas that I just can't remember. I'll wake up and I'll forget, but I know I had some vision in the middle of the night. Ever since I took this pen and I placed it on my bedside counter, now I'll wake up at 4 in the morning, I'll open the cab right so, I'll write some ideas, and I'll go back to sleep. And the next morning, all of those ideas are right there in front of me. This pen is single-handedly responsible for all of the success in my life. Did that sound interesting? Did the object change? Right? So that's what I want you to try.
I got it now.
But this time, I want you to try with this water bottle.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
First boring, and then interesting.
Okay. Here's a water bottle. It's a good thing to have. Why? Because it keeps me hydrated. I love working out. And
Okay.
sometimes...
Interesting.
Here's a water bottle. It's the most interesting thing that I've ever had in my life. Why? Because it keeps me hydrated. Why do you need to be hydrated, you may ask? So that you don't faint while you're working out. Why am I telling this story? Because it's happened. Once I was working out, I was not hydrated and I fainted. The next thing I know, I was home. How did I get home? I have no idea. So this is why this is a very important drink to have by your side. It's very important to stay hydrated.
Very weird logic, but I think it worked. Give a round of applause, everybody. I love the part where you said, how do you get home? I don't know. What does that have to do with the water? I don't know. Have a seat. Can we see how big of an impact just the energy shifts has? So I was telling you earlier, Mehboob, around the storytelling. This is the same thing. It doesn't even have to be around storytelling. As long as you can add variety. And I think that's really the key word. The biggest enemy to public speaking, if you want to bore your audience, is change nothing. Talk the same way, look the same, change nothing. If you want to engage them, constantly change, because then they're always looking out for, oh, something new happened. As people, we're always looking for novelty. We want to see something new. So the more you can move, the more you can change your voice, the more interesting you are. Okay? David, are we ready to close the show? Yes. All right, let's bring David up, please. Okay, David, I want to give you a topic that I know you're not going to be good at. What's that topic going to be?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, the topic I'm not going to be good at?
Or tell me what you're good at, and I won't ask you that question.
Am I good at? Mm-hmm. Being authentic?
You are good at being authentic? Oh, I thought you said I'm not good at it.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay. Let me think of a question for you. David, what is an unusual skill you have?
Well, I would say that a skill that I have, which I've been practicing for the last 6 years or so now, is the skill of authenticity. I've found that it is something that people really struggle with. Right now, I'm feeling so nervous because I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what to say right now. And I completely lost my direction. I have no direction for I have no message. I have no direction. That's nervous laughter coming out of my mouth. That's authenticity. That's how I feel right now. I feel scared. I feel nervous. We live in a world where people are so scared, so terrified of showing up, just real, just who they are. You always feel like you have to show up the right way, look good enough, feel good enough, feel like you know what you're talking about, be an expert. We're so criticized all the time. The world is right there, waiting, ready to criticize you. And it's terrifying. And unless we give that up, unless we just say, F it. Yeah. F it. Can you say that? What are people going to think? On YouTube? You know, I grew up religious. Do you know what my mom would say if she heard that video? This is wrong. You know what people would say, colleagues would say if they heard that video? That is wrong. You can't say that. You know what I say? Be authentic. Bring your authentic self to everything you do. I think that's what I'm good at. I think it's a skill that I have because I made the choice. I made the choice to just say, normal, I am going to be me. If people like that, good for them. I will use that to create the world that I want and the life that I want for myself. Thank you.
Well done, well done. That was such a unique example of you going through a struggle and us seeing you going through it, and then using that as the topic of your speech, and then finding a message.
You know, the entire weakness, or this way, he just lifted it up into the whole strength in the whole topic.
When I was listening to him, I really didn't want to write down because it was so engaging. What I really felt was that initial 60 seconds that you mentioned where
you felt it, right?
He articulated it, used it to his advantage.
Very well.
And then made a script out of it, which is
yeah. That on a technical level, that was genius. I must say that was genius. Maria, how about your feedback, please?
I felt it was great. I felt you're a professional. Great eye contact, body language, the content, the story, connecting their story with the current situation, the volume, the tone, using some pauses, which I enjoyed. And I just feel that the final message, the final line, it went too fast. But other than that, it was great.
Thank you. One thing I didn't catch there, pulses?
Yeah, I feel it was good. You did certain pauses. Like
Pauses, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you.
So, great body language. From the speech, I think you're a professional actor. Because where you started talking about being nervous, I was confused. Are you acting to be nervous, or you actually are? And your face was kind of curling red and red. So that
No, that was authentic.
That was authentic.
So, great message, by the way. Loved it. Areas of improvement would be try engaging the audience, perhaps. And about the pauses, I have a different opinion. I think there were more pauses than necessary, because midway of your talk, the pause would get so long that we could hear crickets in the background. And like, okay, what's coming next? And just so that all the feedback.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of added a bit of suspense. What you're going to say next.
Yeah.
For me too.
Especially for you, right?
I was feeling that emotion that he was going through.
Yeah.
I was feeling it, and I felt, oh, I really don't know what to do. Stop now.
Yeah.
Is the nervousness getting to you? Don't stop. That was I before.
And this is what's interesting. We all saw the same thing, but we interpret it differently. One person says, I could hear the crickets in the background, and you, I want more of it, right? So no matter how well you do, someone will like it, someone will not. So I think your message of authenticity rings very true. Mehboob, anything you have to add?
To be honest with you, I will float on there. Really. And just one thing which I think Rebecca already said. So I was so much, as a listener, I was so much involved and, in flow with you, in sync, that the end was like a bit abrupt, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I wanted to hear more, or I wanted you to continue more, but then it was, it said ended like this.
It's similar to what we saw with Azhar there, right? Just the closing tends to be a little complex for people, right? Rebecca?
I think you're super charming when you do the speech.
Yeah.
Like I really couldn't believe this because you said you're nervous, but your behavior and your everything tell me you're very confident and you are really good at what you're doing. But on the other side, the structure is very lost, so that confused me. The part I can suggest is eye contact. I can maybe because the other said Weaver 10 is a very important audience. I can feel we were looking back instead of looking at the audience. Other than that, I think you're really great. I still confused. Feels like we are.
More, maybe a what?
The people. I can't remember.
Celebrity.
No, the philosopher.
Oh.
Yes. So I don't know what you are talking about, but I think you're right.
That's the best quote of the night. I don't know what you're talking about, but you're right. I'm going to use that somewhere. I think that's the best line I've heard all year. I've done a lot of workshops, but that's the best one.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
If there's a reason to learn communication skills, it's so that you can say anything. Even if people have no idea what you're saying, it sounds good.
That's all I know.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question around the anxiety bit. So quite the roller coaster there.
Yes.
Walk me through what was happening in your body.
In my body?
Yeah.
Panic. Panic. Just sheer panic. My mind went blank.
Yeah?
I had no idea what I was going to talk about in regards to it. I was confused that you even asked me that question and I looked at you because I'm like, for validation, and do you want me to talk about this? Because you just, I thought we were going to talk about something that I'm not good at, and I told you I was good at this, and it's not really a skill anyway. So, but I'm going to present it as if it's a skill.
Yeah, you hated me in that moment, didn't you? Like, oh.
I didn't. I'm like, why are you giving me a gift? But then I went with the gift. I'm like, oh wait, how do I talk about this?
Yeah.
And I just blanked.
But then you powered through it.
But then I powered through, and I was like, wait, this is authenticity? I know authenticity. Be authentic. That's all there is.
Walk me through the curve of anxiety. Because there was a certain point I felt like it peaked, and then it started to taper down for you a little bit.
Once I realized what to do was be authentic. Don't talk about being authentic. Be authentic. So I just realized that, and I just was authentic. And as soon as I was authentic, it all went away.
Yeah. So in other words, what I noticed is when you found direction of what to talk about, you all of a sudden felt more confidence in where you're going. Yes. And then all of it just became a lot easier for you.
Correct.
The hardest part for you was just to find out what to say next.
Yes.
Would that be a fair assumption? Yeah. Right? So there's a couple of things I can teach you. One thing I think what you've demonstrated really well is that these feelings don't last very long. First 30s, I think all of us observed that emotional roller coaster. How do you feel now compared to the first?
Yeah, fine, good.
You don't even feel it anymore, right? So allow that roller coaster to happen, but the sooner you can give yourself direction with where you're going, the easier it is. So for you, when I asked you the question, I think I could see the deer in headlights face. Oh my God, what do I even do, right? Yeah. Allow yourself to feel that way. And if you want to buy time from the audience, I just want you to tell them. The reason people feel uncomfortable with pauses is because they don't know what's happening. There's uncertainty. Why is this person quiet on the stage? It's awkward. But let's say he's up here. Let me think about that for a couple of seconds. Now you know what he's doing. There is context. You're not concerned about why he's not talking, right? A lot like, I like what he did as well in his speech. He said, okay, I'm gonna let the anxiety play out again. So I knew where he was in the journey. So with you, I realized you answered the question right away, but then you didn't know what to say, right? So you said, the skill that I have is being authentic.
Right.
Now what? You couldn't think of the next thing to say. So there, let me think of the perfect example I can give you that shows my authenticity.
Right.
And then you think. Allows yourself to gather your thoughts a little bit.
Yeah.
What I want you to try to practice, I'm going to give you another question.
Okay.
I gave him point, reason, point earlier.
Yes.
That's the fastest way to give yourself direction. I'm going to ask you a question. In the first 5 seconds, just give me an answer. I don't care what it is.
Okay.
Very simple question.
Okay.
And try to give me a reason. So can someone ask me a random question just so I can demonstrate? Just a random question.
What did you eat? What did you eat?
What did I eat today? I ate frozen pizzas today. Pizzas, that's 2. Because I bought a pack of 3 from Costco, and usually I eat 1 a week. But for some reason, I forgot to defrost my chicken. So I had 3 pizza boxes, so I said, okay, you know what, one's not gonna cut it, one's this 9-inch pizza. I put 3 of them in there, and it served as a perfectly good breakfast, lunch, and now dinner when I go home. So that was what I ate today. Did you see how I just chose an answer right away and it gave me material?
Yeah.
Right? And that's true, by the way, I did have 3 pizzas today, right? So I'm gonna ask you a similar question, very basic. Pick an answer, point, reason, and point, okay? I'm looking for a 30-second answer.
Okay.
Okay, all right. What's one thing you have to have in your fridge?
Yeah, great question. Give me a second to think about that. Well, I would say the thing that I have to have in my fridge is beer. And it's not for the reason why you might think, actually. It's not that I love beer. I actually don't drink very much beer at all. I used to drink a fair bit of beer, and I had a big beer gut, and I've been working on bringing that down. The reason why I want to have beer in my fridge is because if I invite friends over, which is my favorite thing to do, and just have friends and just talk authentically about what's going on in life, like the big things about life. I don't care for small talk or stuff like that. I care about getting deep into the realness of life. And for that, for some people, they enjoy a nice wobbly pop, as some might call it, a little beverage, a little alcoholic beverage. Some people don't, and that's fantastic. Some people do, they enjoy that. And so I'll have a neighbor over, I'll have a friend over, we'll have a couple beers. And so for me, that's the one thing I have to have in my fridge.
How did that sound? Do we hear the structure there?
Yep. Point, reason.
Point, reason, point. How anxious did he look this time?
No, it was pretty good.
Pretty chill, right? Did it help give you direction?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the moment you pick something, you just have confidence. Now, this is you speaking on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm guessing most of your presentations are not going to be that.
No, correct, yeah.
Right? So you'll have a lot of time to prep.
Yes.
So if you know your material, usually it's pretty easy. I want to use you as a guinea pig for something I'm about to demonstrate. Okay? Stay here for just a bit. A lot of you will be confused with what I'm about to do. Mehboob, you're the only one who's seen it, so do not spoil the show here. Okay. So, does anyone want to guess why I have one of these? She's just like, what magic trick is this? What is happening? Okay, I'm going to ask you to try something, and Murray, I'm actually going to ask you to try something too, okay? This racket, I just want you to hold your hand up like so.
Okay.
Don't curve your hand at all like this.
Okay.
And just try to balance the racket as much as you can, okay? But I'm going to give you specific instructions on how to do it.
Okay.
Okay? Your only job, and the audience, just gauge how well he's doing and balancing it, okay? I'm going to give you the trick in your ear. Just do what I tell you to do.
Okay.
Okay? And you can't hear. Look at the palm of your hand the entire time.
Okay.
Okay? Like so.
Yep.
And do it. You can hold it yourself and then let go and start. All right? Try. It's from Walmart. Don't worry about it. Let's try it again.
I'm just going to take my jacket off.
Yeah. Oh, he's getting in a mood now. The tennis player comes, authenticity. Okay. Do exactly what I told you to do.
I feel like maybe I'm not doing it right.
Okay, pause. Stay here for a second. Can I borrow you really quickly? Okay. I'm going to give her some instructions too. When you balance it, focus your mind is on the top on the right. Okay. Hand up. Okay. You can hold it yourself and let it go. All right, stop. Who did a better job? Maria, right? How come both of them perform the same task, but they perform significantly differently?
Instructions were different.
Yeah.
He was looking at the base, she was looking at the top.
Exactly. You can do the same exact activity. If you do it, can you try just looking at the base of the racket? Is it harder?
Yes.
Yeah? Try it. Don't hit me with it. Now you try again, but this time look at the top of the racket.
Okay.
How much better is that, right? Now, what the heck does this have to do with tennis? You can have a seat. You can have a seat. What does this have to do with public speaking? When you have a presentation or a speech, what you focus on significantly affects how you perform. So, if I would put this away, right before a presentation, if our focus is on, I hope I remember, what are people going to say? Am I going to look good? Am I going to say the right thing? Will my answer sound good? Your speech is as good as done. You will have a nervous breakdown, your body language will be all over the place, you're not going to perform well. But if your focus is on the present moment, what is happening right now, you're going to be able to operate much better. Can you sit down for a quick second? I want to demonstrate something really quickly. Give me 5 minutes to explain a quick concept, okay? This concept I learned from an Olympic sports athlete, and it changed my life, and I think it's going to change yours too. Picture your brain. I'm hoping it's this big. I don't know how big a brain is, but imagine this is your brain, okay? And it has 2 parts that you use every single day. The first part of your brain is the conscious brain. So when you are talking and having a conversation with someone, when you are writing down and you're analyzing someone, you're consciously thinking of what I'm doing, okay? You're breaking things down. You're understanding concepts. Every time you do something new, you're using your conscious brain. How do you know you're in your conscious brain? You hear thoughts, you have dialogue, you have images. Now let me ask you this. When you are going into a presentation, for those of you who are nervous, right before when you feel that anxiety, what do you feel in your head? Thoughts, dialogue, and images, correct? Now, this part of the brain is very good for analyzing. It is terrible for performing. Why? Let's say if I were to walk from this point to that point. You said, hey, Yasser, walk from here to there. I can easily walk, no problem. But what if you said, okay, Yasser, I want you to walk from here to there, but this time keep your chin up, shoulders back, back straight, leg only a foot apart, make sure the right hand and the left leg are synchronized, the left hand and the right leg are synchronized, make sure you're looking forward as you're talking, do all of those 8 things together. Now if I walk, how will I walk? I'll look like an idiot. Did I just forget to walk all of a sudden? No. What I did was I overloaded my brain with information and I'm consciously thinking of everything I'm doing. So the conscious brain is terrible at taking different parts of the brain, different parts of the body, and combining them together. Now let me give you a different example. The second part of the brain is called the automatic part of the brain. When you first learn to tie your shoelaces, I'm hoping you can all tie your shoelaces, right? First you were taking the strings, okay, how do I combine them, what do I do? Consciously thinking about it. But right now, does anyone need to think about how to tie their shoelaces? Does anyone need to think about how to walk? You just know. So when you're walking, what is your brain doing? It's taking your legs, your feet, your hand, your head, combining all of them and allowing you to automatically walk. This part of the brain is used for performance. When you are on stage and you're speaking, you want to be automatic. You don't want to be consciously thinking. Can you imagine you're on stage? Oh, I hope the slide is good. Why is this person doing that? Am I saying the right thing? It will drive you crazy. So when you have all of these thoughts, what happens? You blank out. because you have so much information. So what I want to teach you today is how can you go from that conscious part of the brain that so many of us are in when we have anxiety to the automatic part of the brain, okay? I need one volunteer just to demonstrate a quick exercise. It also involves a tennis racket. Can I get you to try this out real quick? Come on up in just a sec. We're going to try 2 quick things. If this bombs, then we're not going to air this on the video. Hopefully it does.
Thank you.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do. Have you ever played tennis before? No. Okay, fantastic. You'll do amazing at this. All I want you to do, I'm going to ask you to just bounce the ball like so, to the best of your abilities. Every time this ball hits, I want you to say hit audibly.
Hit.
Just hit, okay?
Hit.
Like so. Exactly. But I want you to do it, okay? Now, I want everyone, before you do this, for just 10 seconds, close your eyes and think of the worst problem in your life right now. Maybe it's taxes, maybe it's a girlfriend, maybe it's a job, whatever it might be. Just close your eyes, including you. 10 to 15 seconds, I'll tell you when to open your eyes. Just vividly imagine it. Okay, hold on to that image. Does everyone have something in their mind? Something came up? Mm-hmm. Okay, now what I want you to do, I just want you to call it out when it says hit, okay? And everyone here, every time you see the ball hit the racket, I want you to say hit, okay? I'm going to count till 50. When we have 50 hits, we'll stop.
Okay.
Okay, let's hopefully you can get that far. All right, let's go.
Hit, 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 heat, hit, 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 hit.
Continue, continue, continue.
Hit, 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 hit.
Okay, stop here. Does anyone know how many times he hit it?
Nope.
No? Any estimate? No?
50.
Okay, can I get you to try this as well? Come on up, you stay here just a second, okay? Same exact thing. I'm going to be counting. Just say the word hit every time. I want to hear everyone say it, okay? One more time. You as well, Maria? There we go. Careful around the wall. We've got tennis professionals in the house, don't we? Okay, pause here, pause here. In that moment, were any of you thinking about the problem in your head? No. Even though you were thinking about it 30 seconds ago. Why?
I was focused.
You were too focused. Your brain can focus on one thing at a time. If you give it something else to focus on, it forgets everything else. What are we focused on right before our presentation? Our presentation. If you focus on the end outcome, it's the fastest way to make sure you're nervous, okay? You can have a seat. I'm going to explain something real quick here. Does that make sense, folks? Right? Yeah. This is the power of focus, and it's been arguably one of the most important things that's changed my life. When you learn to focus on the right thing, your brain just cannot think about anything else. In that moment, you're so present that your brain does not have the capacity, okay? So how do you go from the conscious mind to the unconscious mind? You focus. Ideally using your eyes or your body. So if you look at professional athletes, you'll see swimmers right before they dive, they start stretching a little bit. Or if you see tennis players, they'll just start throwing the ball back and forth. What are they doing? They're training themselves to perform automatically. How does this work? When you are practicing your speech, conscious mind, consciously practice. You know what you're doing. By the time you're on stage, you've done it so many times that the automatic brain just knows what to do. Now be very honest, if you're going for a presentation or a speech, how many of you do it enough times where you can just do it automatically? Right? So then what are we doing? We're operating from the conscious mind. And this conscious mind is an absolute idiot when it comes to performance. Can you imagine if I had to tell you, remember slide 1, remember slide 2, remember to move your hand like this, remember to sit like this, remember to look at this person? You'll go crazy. It just won't happen. So your goal right before and during is to practice your focus, all right? One extremely important concept to know about, have you heard of placebo before? Who knows what placebo is? Anyone not know what placebo is? So placebo is when you believe something, it happens to work. So in medication, let's say you're sick and I give you a pill, but it's a sugar pill. And I just tell you it's a medication and it will work, right? So yeah, the phenomenon, it's studied very well. If you believe something, it happens. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. If you believe something will not happen, or if you believe something negative will happen, it will happen. So for those of you who have a terrible time with public speaking anxiety, what are you afraid of right before the presentation? I'm going to bomb, I'm going to forget, I'm going to blank out, and then what happens? You blank out, you forget, you don't know. So I want you to write this rule down. Imagine you're living your life where everything you say will happen. Everything you think will happen. Okay? So if you knew whatever comes in your mind will happen, how closely will you then guard what you think? Right? Now the question is, well, how do I do that? How do I stop these thoughts from coming in my mind? The goal is to go from your mind to your body as soon as you can. A simple rule, if there is a problem that the mind creates, it cannot be solved with the mind. If you are anxious, can you ever have a dialogue with yourself? Have something that you can focus on outside of yourself. And for different people, this is going to be different. When you're on stage, at this point, you already know your material. I like to focus on my audience. If I'm so focused on your facial expressions and how he's sitting and how he's looking at me, how your head is nodding, I cannot think about myself because my focus is outwards. Now, this is very dependent on the person because some people, when they see other people, they get even more nervous. So if I'm looking at you and you're looking at your watch, oh my God, why is he looking at his watch? What's happening? So an alternate can be, instead of focusing on someone else, you focus on your words. So as you're talking, you just really become aware of it, okay? I'm going to give you a quick exercise to demonstrate this. Just say your name out loud, but say it in the individual letters and really try to pronounce it. So if I said Yasir, I would say Y-A-S-I-R, okay? So say your name, the whole thing, start to finish. Let me hear you say it out loud. Everybody, all together.
T-K-A-I-C-E-R-B.
You have a longer name than everyone else, I think. Now, in that moment, did you feel your thought on the next letter? No? What was your thought on?
The letter that's coming out of the...
Okay. Now, keep that in mind, all right? Rebecca, can I grab you for a second? Stand here. I'm going to read from a paragraph, and you're going to tell me how many times you hear the letter T. Okay? And everybody else do the same exact thing. Just hear the letter T, and I'm going to ask you. The beginnings of this insight came when him and I were first sitting across each other, working on expressions of danger and distress.
I'm really bad at counting.
It's okay. Give me a rough estimate.
5.
Okay?
I got the 4.
2.
23? It's like, what paragraph am I reading? Okay, let's try that again. I'm going to read a different line and let's see how many we catch. A few years later, a German team of psychologists conducted a similar study. They had a group of subjects look at cartoons either while holding a pen between their lips or between their arms.
7.
7?
8.
Okay. David? 3. Your number's always so low. You lowball me.
I'm actually, I can be very literal.
Yeah.
But I'm counting the times I hear the letter T.
Yeah.
Words that have the letter T.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How about you?
I counted 7.
7. How about yourself?
Like last time, I'm
Yeah.
trying to capture the T in the letter.
Yeah.
This time, saying to David, trying to listen to the T sound. And
Yes.
7. Sorry, 3.
Okay. The bad news is I don't know because I'm just reading off a book. a piece of paper. But in that moment, once again, were you only focused on listening to what I was saying, right? So when you're up on stage and you're speaking, what if you were so focused on every single word that you said that you didn't have time to be anxious, right? Can we try that? So I'm going to ask you to talk about something you already know about, just so it's automatic for you. And I just want you to bring all of your awareness to every single word. Just be very aware of it. What you'll find will happen is you'll be very aware, and then you'll think of the next thing to say, and then you'll forget, and then you'll remember, and you'll come back. And it's going to be this cyclical process. Can we try that? Okay. What's something really easy I can get you to talk about? Something that you know everything about. You had a cat, right? Okay, tell me about the cat. Focus on the mouth.
So, my cat, her name is Little Slack. I adopted her from a friend, but actually it's kind of a horrible experience because my friend told me, do you want to go visit my home and check out a very cute cat? I said, yes. So when I visit his home, it's very big and black cat and looks really scary. It scared me. And even worse, my friend told me if I don't take the cat to my home, he gonna bring the cat to the adoption store tomorrow. And because the cat looks really ugly, so probably the cat will be terminated. And I feel like if I don't take the cat to my home, I'm kind of kill the cat. And I take the cat to my home, and the whole night I can't fall asleep because I'm making up the horrible story, like the cat hunting on my body, etc. So I stay whole night.
Okay, I'll pause you here just for the sake of exercise. Did we notice how all of the things that she learned earlier were there? She slowed down, she looked more relaxed, body language was there. Did it feel automatic? Right? How did you feel when you were focusing on the words?
Only thinking of the word.
The next thing, right?
Yeah.
So when you give yourself one single thing to focus on, the entire brain shuts down. Now what you want to do is just make sure that one thing is not the end outcome. Okay? You can have a seat really quickly here. So to take away, what you do right before and during, where your focus is going to determine how you feel. Because especially in your case, David, you're a phenomenal speaker. You don't have a skill gap, but you focus right before and during on the problem. I don't know what to say, how will people perceive me? Give yourself something to focus on. So and this is different for people. I love focusing on people. For her, maybe the words, could be your gestures, could even be the slide. Pick something outside of yourself. If you are internalizing it, it's a recipe for disaster, okay? I want to end with one thing before we do a review here. There's a big difference between having goals and having expectations. A lot of us go in with expectations. I need to do really well. I need to land this deal. I need to make sure I have the best talk ever, right? So let's say do you have any kids, David? I do. Okay, so let's say you have a son or a daughter. Okay, let's say you have a son who wants to learn the guitar, okay? Loves playing the guitar. All day, every day he's playing the guitar, he loves it. But then you say, I'm going to send you to music school where you're going to learn to play the guitar. You have to go 6 times a week. You have to be top of the class, and I expect you to make a career out of this. How much is he going to enjoy that? But this is exactly what we do with ourselves. We give ourselves all of these conditions. Unless you do all of this, you're not going to feel good about yourself, right? Ever skipped on studying for a test, but then you somehow did better than you expected? Oh, wow, how'd that happen? And you're happy. But then sometimes you studied a lot and you get a 97. Oh my God, I can't believe. It has everything to do with your expectations. So the goal setting is to encourage you to practice and prepare. That's my goal. When you show up on the day, you abandon that altogether. There's no tie into the outcome. The moment you're tied to the outcome, you're gone. Then on the day, your only goal is, where can I focus? So right before, I like to just focus on my breath. I like to play a game. Sometimes I'm listening to music, completely distracted. Distract yourself so you're not even thinking about it. The moment you're on stage, give yourself one thing to focus on, one person, your gestures, your words, and your brain will shut down. The automatic brain will just do everything. This is a complicated concept, folks. Is this making sense? Yeah, it's a little, I would recommend 2 books for everybody to read if you really want to get into this. I learned this from my coach, his name is Dr. Alan Goldberg, but this title will sound weird, but the title of the book is The Inner Game of Tennis. Another book is called Thinking Fast and Slow, which talks about the 2 sides of the brain. If you can just understand how your brain works in these 2 ways, it's going to help you deal with your public speaking side. Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel, what is that? Yeah, you've read the book, right? Phenomenal book. So the Inner Game of Tennis talks about the same thing, but in performance, okay? Folks, I know it's been a long day. Can we end with one last 1-minute speech from everybody, just talking about what you learned today? Would that be okay? Yep. Rebecca, you want to come up first? All right, let's give her a round of applause again.
I think I have a lot of information today. Like the most remember one is the last sentence you mentioned. We should focus on the goal instead of the expectation, because that's exactly struggled me a lot, because I set a very high expectation for myself. Therefore, I always screw up things. And the second thing I think is really important is when I observing David and Heather's speech. Like your practice, the contents is very boring, but because your tone changes, make me really attracted and hook on your performance when you're on the stage. And when you speak some things, I feel, oh, that's so funny and that's so charming, no matter what you're talking about. And also when I observed Mary, when she speaks something she really interested in, she's shining. So I can picture, because I found a lot of similarity with her, so I can feel when on the stage, when I tell people the things I'm really interested in, I will shining like Marie. That's what I learned.
Well done, well done. Have a seat. Heather?
So, firstly, thank you everyone for being active participants. It's been a great learning journey. For me, one of the key takeaways is obviously point, story, point, which kind of is also what I'm trying to structure into my conclusion as to what I learned today. But along with the point of sticking to a point, story, point, I think there were other value adds that provided by Yasser and you all fine folks here. One is to focus on words, try and get out of your mind. So I guess those are very good takeaways. Eventually, final takeaway for me is point, story, point. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much, Yasser, every one of you. It was really, really, I would say, a fun moment, a learning moment. My key takeaways are, and whatever he said, I'm trying to reproduce them in my own understanding. The first thing when you are here, talk to someone, be in the present moment, right? So present moment means that you don't think about the past, you don't think about the future. It's all about what is happening right now. So being in the present moment, and then I think how we get into the being present moment, what I've learned today is that you do some sort of grounding, some sort of, like he was mentioning about breathing, right? He was mentioning about to calm down yourself, to calm down the nerves or whatever. So I think these two are the biggest takeaway. Then the third one, that we are 7 here. So I must say every individual has his or her own style, characteristics. So, but if we stick just to one or few basic rules, and then we have to be ourselves, and then we can go. Thank you.
So the one thing that I learned, and Rebecca really helped me with that, is your content can be interesting, but you can make it sound really boring. But if you add a lot of emotions and a lot of voice variation to it, you can make it really interesting. So I can talk about all the things that we've learned. So when I'm going into the past, like we've learned, I'm coming here because that is what I learned today. And then slowly and gradually you move towards the right. Now you're starting to come into the present tense, and you're like, there's one key message that I want to leave with you, and that is use a lot of emotion and be authentic. Thank you. Oni. Daddy.
Nobody knows what's going to come out of my mouth, eh? I love it. I love it. Thank you, Yasser. This was tremendously fun, beneficial in so many ways. Like, I think I'm going to go back and rewatch this video several times. I learned so much. I don't even remember how much I learned. All the things I learned. There were so many things I learned from each participant. The one thing that I think is going to be very valuable for me is to get out of my mind. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to find something else to focus on. And maybe it's with the audience. I wasn't looking out there before because I was imagining 50,000 people. I just was in my mind. Now I'm here with you. I want to thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. And I'm looking for a close. What?
I would like to share what I learned today by providing an analogy. Imagine you have the most amazing car in the world, but you don't know how to drive. So what do? You get help, right? You get a coach or someone who helps you how to drive. This person can teach you how to use the different features of the car and can take you to a path, to a destination. That's how I felt today. I felt that I already knew some skills on how to speak, but I didn't know how to drive all those skills. So I thank you, Yasser, for that, for giving me some guidance and for teaching me to focus on the moment so that I can enjoy my ride. Thank you.
Wow. That was like, could we tell she was in the moment? That you were zen in that moment, right? Okay, folks, I want to leave you with one last thing. Okay, it's a free gift from me. One of the biggest challenges tends to be we learn a lot and then we forget, the information dissipates. The most important aspect is integration and practice. So I have a free course that I'd like to give all of you. For the next 10 days, if you just punch in your email, it will send you daily practice instructions where every single day, all you do is you turn your camera on, you speak to it. If you just do that course for 1 to 10 days, I promise you, look at day 10, look at day 1, the difference will be huge, okay? If you're interested, just go to speaklikeaceo.com. It'll be the first link on there. If you just want to pull your phone up so it doesn't get lost. Mehboob, you probably had this 3 times by now, right?
No, I've done it.
The first time. Got it.
But it's something we can repeat it. You know?
Oh, yeah, I still do it every day.
Yeah, sir, I just have one question.
Please.
You know, I tried to stop it, but then it's coming out.
Please ask.
Yeah. So see, it's about the pauses.
Yes.
Now, sometimes, for the audience or for ourselves, when we do pauses, how do we know, as a listener or as a speaker, that are these pauses for reinforcing something, or are these pauses because I have nothing up here?
Are you asking from the perspective of the person speaking or the person listening?
No, the person speaking.
So how do you, as the person speaking, know what the purpose of the pause is? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, so if I'm pausing,
yes,
right? So how the audience would perceive me,
yes,
and how would they differentiate? Let me put it this way.
Yes.
Like, is he pausing because of, to get the message across the board?
Yeah.
Or he is pausing because he knows nothing?
So in other words, is he pausing on purpose or is he pausing because he forgot or doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Usually it's the body language that gives it away. So you'll find the people who take natural pauses, they have that rhythm throughout their speech. They will talk, then they will pause, and they will talk, and they will pause. Because you're used to their speed and cadence. When they pause next, you're used to that. But some people talk really, really fast. Now, you know it's off track, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is most people, when they forget, they either stop and pause in the middle of a sentence, or as soon as they pause, their nervous giveaways come out. So for example, yeah, the second thing I want to talk about is, can you tell? Just because of what I'm doing with my body, it gives it away. Unlike speech, body language is very primal. You can't train it. If I just throw something at you right now, you'll just automatically do this. So our body just naturally reacts to things, and it's our first giveaway. So that's why you'll notice a lot of it in my workshops, the first thing we focus on is the body language. It's the first thing that gives it away. So a very easy way to tell if someone's forgotten is if they have paused in the middle of a sentence where it doesn't make sense, or they're just looking around. Then you can tell. All right, round of applause, folks. Good. Been a long.